You kind of caught me off guard here. Okay. Now, thank you, Lord. Help me. Let me put it very simple. It takes a lot of money to do what we do. Oh, yeah. Well, for example, that's really none of your business. But, hey, you listening to me? Let me give you another example. And I prayed about it, and I thought, back when, and I might add another thing, too. It's a misunderstanding. I'm talking about the Bible. God, I get excited talking about it because I love it. I had to learn this, the demons. Abraham was very, very well. I learned it from him, from the Bible.
There's a foundation in the Bible.
Wait a minute now. The blessing of Abraham. Abraham was extremely wealthy, and he had a covenant with God. I'm talking about the Bible. Oh, God, I love this. And I started out standing my grandfathers. I love the people. Those are the demons. And I understand that, and I love them with all my heart. If you go into the old covenant, and it's full of meanness, it's just full of hell on earth. He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it. I love your eyes. Face to face, personally. Just the same as Jesus is very real. They're rulers of the darkness of this world. God bless, Father bless. But it's a biblical thing, it's a spiritual thing. It doesn't have anything to do with people. And it's full of miracles, and signs, and wonders. It's full of unseen things. Jesus, people, I love people. Dragging some woman down an aisle, it made me so mad I wanted to punch the guy out myself. We wrestle not with people. And I have a lot of natural gas.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I'm your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, I am in airplane mode. You already know what to do, gang. Grab something to drink, grab something to smoke, greet your neighbor. It is time for the musical portion of the program.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Music loud and women warm, been kicked around since I was born. And nothing's gonna change the way we live, cause we can always take but never give. And now that things are changing for the worse, see, oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me.
All right, let's give out some pocket change.
Somebody help me, yeah.
Look at the trees was first.
Virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Well, now I get low and I get high, and if I can't get either, I really try. Got the wings of heaven on my shoes. I'm a dancing man and I just can't lose. And nothing's gonna change the way
Wayne
we
was
live,
second.
cause we can always take but never give. And now that things are changing for the foresee. Oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made up.
And Carrie Ann Chrysler was third.
Insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground.
Cheers, gang.
Oh, futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground, live underground, live underground.
All right. Now look, gang, we're just gonna jump straight into it. All right. So look, let me tell y'all what the fuck is going on. I was just minding my business. Y'all know me. I don't never be trying to start nothing. I just be minding my business. I was just at home, just typing away, just doing my little science, just trying to do my research. And I'm over there at Nate's channel, showing Nate some love. Y'all be forgetting. Technically, I'm a mod over there. You know what I mean? So I just be coming in. What we doing today, Nate? You know, just trying to be responsible, okay? And we had a little panel discussion going on. All the boys was on, and they're having their little conversations and their little fun. And I had so many thoughts. When I saw this live, and then I was like rewatching the video to like pick up pieces that I missed, and I left like a whole bunch of comments. And so I was like, look, I should just talk about this because there's a lot going on. And I just, what we're gonna do, y'all, is we're gonna pay attention tonight. We're gonna really listen in with close ears to hear. And I'm gonna try to point out some things that I find to be problematic about the tone that we take when we're talking about issues out here in this community, particularly the sort of social and political issues of the day. All right, so look, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the main event of the evening. Now, look, I'm gonna just keep it $1.50 with y'all. Prior to said engagement, I really don't know who Peter Boghossian is. Peter Boghossian, he looks, sounds, acts, and carries himself like a fuckface. So right now, he's just on that fuckface tip, right? Okay. And so right now we're gonna have a conversation. It's gonna be Peter and Nate and Deepak, who I like, and this dude who I can't think of his name, but we're gonna call him Deepak's nemesis because that's what he's got on his thing. And Pine Creek Doug, who, yay, we were all having such a good time till Doug showed up. But y'all know how that goes. Literally, but it's all right. Let's go ahead and jump into this.
Like if you're infinite resources,
We got a lot to
right,
get
like,
through.
then of course, almost any problem affecting us wouldn't matter because like we just redistribute more resources from the bank that we had, right? But like climate change would be a vast drag on the resources of the earth, right? In total, so no amount of redistribution can solve that.
You're muted, sir.
All right, we gotta just hit this with the quick correction right here. Look, we can't keep doing this. Y'all gotta pay attention.
If
But
you
you
have
can't.
if you're infinite resources, right? Like then of course, almost any problem affecting us wouldn't matter because like we just redistribute more resources from the bank that we had, right? But like climate change would be a vast drag on the resources of the earth. Right?
Boom. Did you hear it? Climate change would be, yeah. So climate change is definitely a thing. I know Deepak's not denying that, but we just got to clarify it, because again, like that type of language makes it easy to slip right on into the denialism. But it's all good. That's not what we're not really here to talk about Deepak. So let's keep it rolling.
So,
shout out to the boy Deepak. Me and Deepak used to kick it on these panels back in the day. Deepak, somebody need to get this shit to Deepak so me and Deepak can link up, because I've wanted to have Deepak on this channel. Maybe like on Hot Program or something, and just kick it with Deepak. He's out here, he jumps on panels and stuff, but I don't think he has a channel, or like we ever really get to just spend time, learning about Deepak. But he was always a cool dude, and I had really good interactions with him. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Speaking of having people on Hot Program, y'all need to go back and check out Hot Program from this Sunday, last Sunday. It should be like the last stream before this one, because we had Esther, the Afro atheist, join us on Hot Program. Yes, it was a special time. My one black friend got married on Saturday. Woo! Congratulations. That's very, very beautiful. But y'all know me, I'm not going to have this man hosting Hot Program the day after he got married. Nope. No, I know better than that. So I was going to just call it off, but then I was thinking about it. Me and Esther been trying to link up. I asked Esther to link up with me on Sunday. She did. We had a fantastic time. Really, really good episode. So definitely check that out if you have not already. All right, let's go.
The redistribution can solve that.
You're unmuted, Peter.
I think he was talking to someone else. And the additional problem is the way that what happens when various institutions are also affected.
Hey, YouTube punk. What's up? It's good to see everybody here. I see Trees is here, Carrie Ann's here, Kalasia's here, Wayne's here, Hawaii is here. Good to see you. I saw you on Sunday. That's awesome. Good to see you again. Yeah, good to see everybody. Nitty's in the house. Beck was in the test stream earlier. Only Beck would probably come through.
Change and the dynamics of a global economy based on trade and things like that as well are affected. Supply and demand, and things like food shortage, water shortage. The way that changes the way that the
thanks for dropping that link, Carrie Ann.
I think that there's a lot of reification that comes on talking about the economy, right? But it's a very complex thing that we measure in various ways.
Right. It's a very complex thing, and therefore you ought not make dogmatic statements like food shortage, right?
That's not true. Like the economy is a complex thing. I make statements like inflation. Blah,
Did
blah.
y'all see that real quick? Did y'all see that? Did y'all see? This is what I be trying to tell people about Doug.
You ought not make dogmatic statements like food shortage.
You ought not make dogmatic statements like food shortage. Let's just call that example 1A for tonight of Doug is not as smart as people act like he is. Like, just what a stupid thing to say. But look, we're here to really get into this whole conversation when Peter jumps into it. This is just a little bit of preamble while they get ready to talk to Peter. So let's keep it moving.
That's not true. Like the economy is a complex thing. I make statements like inflation, blah blah, all the time, right? And I think that's legitimate.
The point I was trying to make is that many of the underlying things that go into the reification we call, like when we say the economy, are going to significantly change, like the market dynamics of like loads and loads of things, and that's why there's reason to worry. So there's like there's reason to think that it will affect the economy, this complex thing.
Right, but it's one thing to say it's going to affect, and there's another thing to say it's going to
affect negatively.
For sure, yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think though the reasons to look at the positives are more based off of speculation, whereas the risk assessments that are done by companies who invest in these things are like, well, actually, food shortage, water shortage are like big issues based off of the changes that will probably happen.
Actually, what's up, Randy?
How you doing, Peter?
We just did a bunch.
Nathan was mad at you that you didn't move your mic.
Peter's here now. We're getting ready.
That you did move your mic.
I think
Perfect
he's
timing.
his.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we got
loud and clear.
How's everybody doing?
There's like a delay or whatever with Peter, so
average.
we'll just have to deal with that.
7.3.
I'm in a room with 3 of my favorite wokesters.
Boom. Okay. Funny laughs, haha. But this is kind of a good place to start, right? Because what I really want people to be thinking about tonight is perspective, right? Like we're gonna be talking about different perspectives, and I just a lot of these conversations, they just hit me kind of differently than they hit people. But this is a slight thing here, you know, to somebody like Doug, you know, these 3 gentlemen right here. Oh yeah, I'm just chilling with my favorite wokesters. But honestly, I don't think in the way we currently have like our sort of political spectrum here, at least in the States, we wouldn't identify these people as leftists. I think maybe Deepak's nemesis is the only person that would maybe self-identify as a leftist. The other two, maybe liberal on our spectrum, like maybe, but I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just showing you like right there, like, bro, you think these people you talking to are hella woke? Like, trust me, they're gonna show you quick, early and often, like these are not wokesters. And that's no disrespect, again, gang, it's no disrespect, it's perspective, right? Let's start to draw out these nuances, see these things for what they are. I'm trying to keep it constructive. Let's go.
Perfect. Well, I have something I want to talk about. Unless you guys want to talk about something. I have something I want to talk about.
Well, Nathan's your show.
No, feel free, like, because I think that Doug's attempt to troll us on climate change has come to an end.
I would like to talk about.
Yeah, pause the
whether or
tape.
not-
This is a great comment. Look at the trees. If someone uses woke in the Doug way, I immediately think they're stupid or racist or both. 100%. 100%. You know what I mean? At this point, it's the dog whistle, and it's like, yeah, you know, we hear it. We know what that's about. We're not that stupid. Again, like imagine trying to take a stance where you're against being aware of the marginalization of particular people. Imagine that. Imagine complaining about that. Like crazy. But that's just perfect. I really couldn't say it any better. Just wanted to give it some highlight.
People here are eating blueberries. That's not what I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about whether or not people here think that the president of Harvard should be fired for plagiarism.
Great to see you, see love in the house.
Has something specific happened? I don't know.
If they plagiarized, then yes.
Well, if you're not familiar with the incident, then
Yeah.
it's not good that I get you up to speed because you need to read about it yourself.
I say yes.
As opposed to hearing about it from me. So
I'm familiar with it, and I'll say yes.
we should probably not talk about it if you guys aren't familiar with it. I'm a little surprised you're not familiar with it, but that's fine too. It doesn't matter either way.
Well, I saw your tweet on it, and you made a good point about maybe we should not fire because it is a beacon of, it's a good representative to have a plagiarist as a president of Harvard.
100%. Yeah. And I just put another tweet out. And so I think that there are two ways to look at it. It's binary in that you fire her or you don't fire her. Clearly, it's black and white plagiarism. But bracketing that for a moment, if you want her fired, then you're either an ideologue or you believe that the institutions can be saved. If you don't want her fired, I don't want her fired. I think that's the perfect position for her, actually. Then you believe that the institution is it's coming through the headphones, the sound.
All right, but like pause the tape. Now I just want to say quickly here, I don't want to talk about the whole Harvard president thing because to be honest with you, I haven't like read or even watched a bunch about it. So like it is what it is. I know like the bare minimum about the story. But what's interesting here that I think is important, because I want to talk about the perspective, and a lot of it is sort of talking about why people like Peter and Doug are not acting in good faith when they have these conversations and when they come into these spaces. And then why people who end up, I think, setting out ostensibly to, I think, you know, like I think they actually want to help like progressive causes in marginalized people and stuff like that, like, and they're just, you know, generally speaking, decent human beings, and trying to represent the perspective of decent people, and to that extent, I guess Nathan in Deepak in Deepak's Nemesis will be playing playing the role of the left here. We just get sucked into their fucking games and their okey doke and their bullshit. And that this sort of opening diatribe is a perfect example of Peter's thing, where he's talking about the president of Harvard, and he's taking a stance that's ostensibly charitable, like, oh, I don't want her fired, right? But it's really a backhanded insult, right? It's, I don't want her fired, ... because, you know, I think the institution's all sorts of fucked up, and having a plagiarist there is a perfect representation of the institution, right? Like that's not a genuine take either way, right? And then doing so, and then saying, oh well, it's a binary, either you want her fired or don't fire. It then misrepresents both sides of it, right? So it's this is the game, right? But it sounds like a nice thing to say, and you're sitting there listening to, like, are you serious? Like, and so you just, but you know, at this point it's just kind of like, all right, you know, like a lot of, like, so many of the things, like, all right, weird, like let's get on. We kind of we're bringing this up. I thought we said we're not going to have this conversation, but we're having this conversation.
Sorry about that. Then you believe that the institution is worth saving if you don't want her fired. If you want her fired, so I don't want her fired, and that's the reason I don't want her fired is because I think she's the perfect person for that position. She perfectly embodies institutional corruption.
And you want Harvard to die?
Yeah,
Seems
I
like
want them all to
a
die, to burn.
Seems
So
like
I
a
think
very
nothing is.
This kind of sounds like all the people that I run into here in Seattle who have said, like, no, we need to abolish the police. There's no reform possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Marxism, right? Hiding the contradiction in the system.
Which clearly isn't true. It's like we're never going to solve every murder, but that doesn't mean that the entire institution is not worth trying to go and reform, right?
But anyway, that's the thing that's on my mind right now that I wanted to talk about. But if not, that's fine too.
I mean, so wait, so is there actual details? So all I'm seeing, like, in the headlines is like she was cleared by the university board or something.
Yeah, so that's why I can't give you the description. If you haven't heard about it or followed it, we really ought not to talk about it, because anything that I would say, you would accuse. I could easily imagine that one would want to accuse me of bias. So people need to look at it, look at the definition of plagiarism, see if it fits the definition of plagiarism, and that's not something we can do in 5 minutes. So we should probably talk about something else.
From just a quick,
just accusing us of like preemptive bias accusations. It seems we don't usually do that around here. I don't know.
Yeah, but we shouldn't do it. You just need to have some familiarity with the issue before we talk about it. It's like being a member of a book club and not having read the book and commenting on the book.
That was a good call by Deepak. And then again, Peter, again, like this is what these guys on the right do, is they try to present themselves as these like objective, centrist people. Like, I don't want to do anything that would be accused of bias. Bro, you just came in here, like, we're having a conversation. You're like, let me talk about this hot button issue that the right's railing about. People are like, yeah, we didn't really get a chance to read much about that. We didn't really know much about that. Yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about that. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing I really want to talk about. But I don't know. I mean, well, we probably really shouldn't though, right? Yeah, I don't want anybody to accuse me of bias. Anyway, I want to quickly read for you guys Peter Boghossian's description, his about on his YouTube channel. I'm executing a blueprint to push back liberalism, and I'd like you to be directly involved. The blueprint has a twofold aim. First, to restore free speech and open inquiry as nonpartisan values. And second, to reveal the implications of far left ideological takeover. Hang on, let me finish. Oh my God. All right, next paragraph. Truth is no longer the North Star of our universities. However, addressing what goes on in university classrooms is not nearly enough. Students indoctrinated with intolerant ideologies are now teachers in primary education, human resource officers in organizations and corporations, and DEI consultants across the globe. Equally damaging is the woke infiltration of journalism, where the aims of objectivity and balance have been replaced by ideology and activism. We are fighting back. Oh, I couldn't take it, gang. And this is again like the bullshit of this, right? Like literally, I mean, it's got a bunch of punctuation, but technically in the same sentence, right? He says, check this out, y'all. The blueprint has a twofold aim. First, to restore free speech and open inquiry as nonpartisan values, right? That's the bullshit. That's debate, right? That's debate. Oh, nonpartisan, that's supposed to be good, right? Yeah, this divisiveness is so terrible. Oh, let's get down with this. Yeah, free speech and open inquiry should be a nonpartisan value. And literally the rest of the fucking sentence is to reveal the implications of far left ideological takeover. Wait, hang on. Skirt? What? Huh? What'd you say? Yeah, that's the switch. Y'all see the bait and switch right there? It's in the same sentence. And then literally going on to rail about woke journalism and DEI officers and blah, 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 blah. Bro, that's your about on your YouTube. But then they show up. Oh, I wouldn't want anybody to accuse me of bias or, having a certain bent in my, like, bro, get the fuck out of here, man. Say it with your chest. And this is what y'all can't fall for this bullshit. Let them soft pedal this shit. Act like they really came here to have a fair and balanced look at things.
So anyway, let's talk about something else.
From a quick Google, it does look like there are these 3 examples of plagiarism. I don't know what context they're in, so I don't know how but obviously plagiarism's plagiarism. So that's obviously bad.
Exactly.
I need to be a little bit more familiar with the person's role and so on, and what these publications were in order to judge how severely bad I think it is. But I think I would still reject the argument based off of wanting to keep her in order to display how bad institutions are, because I'm pro a bunch of our public institutions like universities and things like that I think that they help society at large. So I'd want them to exhibit good epistemic standards, good virtues, things like that, and punish bad ones.
I'm really curious, Peter, given what you just said there, do you think Derek Chauvin should have been found not guilty to show how corrupt the police are as an institution?
No, that's another. I don't want to make parallels. We either talk about this or we move on.
I'm trying to get at
that's a good question.
Principle that you have generally with corrupt institutions, or is this specific to education?
They're just not parallel. Those aren't parallel situations.
Well, the parallel I'm drawing is right. So we have 2 examples of people who went and violated their code of conduct and the law. In the case of Derek Chauvin, Derek Chauvin was found guilty, but I heard a lot of people usually kind of more like the anarchist communist bend who said that no, Derek Chauvin should go and be found not guilty so that we can all see how corrupt the police are and burn the institution down. Which sounds
there's a
not
difference.
too dissimilar to to what you said about Harvard.
No, there are fundamental differences there. Those cases are adjudicated by independent courts of law not associated with the institution. The accusations of plagiarism and the adjudication of that is an internal matter consistent with ethics boards.
That's not what I'm asking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's nothing. This is again,
Yeah.
and they put more of these word games. Like, no, they're different because I can actually think of a difference between a university and a police brutality case. Yeah, no shit. We didn't ask if you could think of a difference. We asked you to address the parallel. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, like these dudes are just not here to have a good faith exchange of ideas, and they kind of make all of us look silly by indulging them in this nonsense. But we have so much to get through.
I'm saying let's assume that both of them are.
Well, the procedure is vital to exposing corruption. So so in order to make your argument work, you would have to say that the same people who adjudicated police corruption were the police themselves, like some kind of internal affairs or investigation. That would be a parallel.
You easily say something like the Justice Department or like justice apparatus of the United States broadly, right? Like we know that, I mean, there's enough, like the same people he's talking about would probably say that it's all the same system, the judges and the cops, with things like, what is that kind of immunity that cops have where they can basically do anything and
qualified immunity.
Yeah, qualified immunity. Yeah, like they would just say that. They would
Okay, all right, but look, this is more of that bullshit, right? This is why we go for it. He starts playing some stupid ass word game about trying to draw distinctions, and then everybody jumps on the clarification train. No, we don't need that. And again, Peter, like, say it with your chest. They are anti-education, and we know that. He sat up there and literally said, do you guys support it? That because that means you believe that these institutions are actually redeemable. Like he literally wants to suggest that institutions of higher education are irredeemable. And again, a lot of people have a fuck the Ivy League mentality, and we could talk about the problems in higher education all day long. I'm an employee of higher education. I'd be more than happy to talk about the problems in higher education. It's kind of the deal. But again, why not just admit how anti-education and anti the universities you are off rip? Like, why play this stupid game?
Institution, and we need to like heighten the contradictions by having Derek Chauvin found innocent.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess if you really extended it and looked at it in the broadest possible sense, but it's disanalogous in that. And again,
one's illegal, one isn't.
Say again.
One's illegal, one isn't.
And here comes Doug.
Yeah, one's illegal, one isn't. One's in internal policy. One's adjudicated by the framework for one is very narrow.
And again, this is where we're not strong enough in these moments. We should be saying stop the phone, stop the press. Are you suggesting that we don't understand that an internal human resource matter of the university and a murder case are not exactly the same because one is legal? Are you literally suggesting we don't understand, right? Because this is otherwise it's a fucking word game. They tried to make you a parallel, right? If these motherfuckers were so concerned about having a genuine conversation, a genuine bipartisan effort to exchange information and ideas, then they would address the question he was asked. They never addressed the question he was asked because he knows how stupid he would look if he actually had to address it and be consistent. And so he knows, if I say it, then I'm gonna sound stupid as shit. If I'm consistent, then I'm gonna sound stupid as shit. And if I'm inconsistent, then they're gonna call me out for being inconsistent. So what do? Distract with this bullshit about how they're different. But again, that's a bad faith tactic. You talking to three grown ass men. You really don't think we understand the difference between Harvard Handers matters internally and murders are settled in a court of law? For real, you really think we don't get that's a difference? Then shut the fuck up and answer the question.
Also make the argument that it's a difference between a public and a private institution, and public institutions are held, at least in
Tell me what a public institution is, please.
Democracies, or as most people traffic in the meaning of the word public, they're very different. So I'm just not buying I'm not buying the parallel. So that's why I don't want to waste any more time on this. I don't think we should talk about the plagiarism stuff, because you need to do at least an hour of work to.
I think maybe the issue is that none of those distinctions featured as premises in the argument, though. So in terms of the reasons that were provided in the argument, those reasons at least hold across both cases. So if the kind of like rebuttals that were given about distinctions between like private and public institutions and so on apply, well, then we're going to have like more granular premises that take into account those sorts of things against. But yeah, I agree with you. We can probably talk about something more interesting.
Yeah, but if you guys want, I'd be more than happy to talk about this at some point once people. I mean, if it's of interest, if it's not,
sure.
Yeah. If you just read up, and if you actually read up in the context of like looking at the whole picture, like she has 11 publications and is president of Harvard. She's got the awards that she's received. Just looking at it in terms of the total context, and actually putting side by side her articles and the articles from which she plagiarized, and then, or I won't even make that judgment, her articles and the articles that people have accused her of plagiarizing, and then you just looked at those and see if the standards for plagiarism applied. And then I would suggest that you look at the arguments from people who believe that this is a witch hunt, or the only reason that she was investigated in the first place was because she was African American, or that there's a kind of, I don't know, weird kind of reparations justice, whereas white people before have not been found guilty of plagiarism. And so she should somehow be exculpated, or I don't know, just on principle, as a kind of equity principle, not found guilty because of the color of her
skin. All right, here's some more bullshit. They bring up some shit that only they want to talk about, and then it's like, well, I'm sorry, you guys. Well, if only you guys were educated, man. It's real important you guys haven't read up on this. But let's put a pin in that. Put a pin right there in that tactic. But also notice how he just keeps going on with this ostensibly at this point, just personal attack on this woman, and like nobody cares. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody's interested in this. And he's now representing it as this whole straw man of, well, you know, people are saying there's reparative justice and she shouldn't be found guilty because she's a black woman. And I mean, just look at it. Just do the research. I mean, it's clearly plagiarism. Bro, not a single one of them have argued any of this shit at all. And likely neither has anybody else that Peter Boghossian has actually spoken to. This is just more bullshit tactics to make the people who, quote unquote, are standing in for the left defend shit that they never even said.
Skin, I think that's a fascinating argument that I'd like to examine. But again, all of these things take time, and this is just one of my interests. So we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, probably best
don't.
to familiarize myself with any of that stuff. But to be honest, just reading the article, I think I agree with you that like she seems to be in the wrong, and at least on the face of it, like I'd have to see what those arguments are that people are providing. I don't think I agree with like the idea that just because of her,
I mean, look, I'm reading some articles too, and again, like this is
you cut out Deepak.
I don't know, like maybe it's I could easily see, like, for example, right, like here's a quote from George Reed Andrews, professor of history at the University of Pittsburgh. Acknowledged that Gay did borrow a few of my phrases, right, in her 1993 article, blah blah blah. I mean, depending on what he means by that, like that can still count as, like, if it's an entire like paragraph or two, right, that ordinarily comes under plagiarism, right? But as an academic myself, I mean, I see this kind of stuff all the time, and it's laziness more than anything else. And if it's more than this, I mean, I don't know, like standards are still pretty high. Doesn't mean you relax them just because you're a president of Harvard or any other reason. But
I think she's more in trouble for her testimony in Congress with the anti-Semitism thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that was not fun to watch.
Well, I think maybe we could all do with reading up a little bit more then on that topic. And
you should not try to do these things.
So
in
what
real
would you
time.
guys? I have a little while, and you don't have to make it about me or anything. I just thought Reed thought it'd be a good idea that I joined you guys, and so what do you guys like to talk about?
Well, I want to know why you're so non-neutral when you're interviewing Nathan, and you let your buddy Billboard Chris have the mic too much. Why can't you be more nuanced?
Are you being serious or being facetious?
I'm being facetious, but I'm with a hint of marinated truth.
All right,
I think
a bunch of this is just inside baseball going to be referring to prior exchanges these people have had elsewhere that I haven't seen and would not watch. So we'll just we'll let them get through some of that.
Letting my friend Nathan hear it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I never used to read YouTube comments, but I read YouTube comments now. I try to read them. I don't always get to all of them, but of course there are too many. But I find if I were to go to Nathan, so it's kind of like, why didn't you intervene in Bosnia? Well, if you intervened, people would militarily say, well, you only intervened because they were white. If you didn't intervene, people would say, well, you didn't intervene because they're Muslims. So I find myself in a similar situation. So if I went to Nathan more, then people would say, look, you're picking on him. Why are you doing that? If I went to Billboard Chris more, you'd say you're giving him more attention. I haven't parsed out how much time I spent on each person, but I went to Billboard Chris more if I did, because I thought that some of the responses that he was giving were not clear. At least I wasn't understanding them, but I thought that the responses Nathan was giving were clear, and I was at least clear to my satisfaction. I don't know, clear to anybody else's. It's, I can only go by myself. And so if somebody says something that's unclear, independent of what the reason is, I will go to them so that I can understand it.
Okay, so you thought Billboard Chris compared to Nathan was more unclear, and you spent more time with the mic in his face because of his lack of clarity.
To me, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say for anybody externally, but my general rule is, or maybe my strict rule is, if somebody says something that I don't understand, I try to drill down so that I can understand, independent of the position. So I need to understand the reasons and the argument that one has for holding the position. And it doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. I just have to figure out if I can understand it. And I was pretty much understanding what Nathan was saying, but I wasn't understanding some of the reasoning that Chris had. That doesn't mean that, I mean, you look, again, if I had gone to Nathan more, I can truly tell you with complete unshakable confidence that those YouTube comments would be wholly populated by, why did you pick on him? Why did you go to him more? Why were you, I mean, so there's just, it really is a no-win situation.
Yeah, I get that too. But Nathan, hearing that, what do you change your impression?
What I actually think I agree with Peter on that point about it for maybe most of the kind of like Spectrum SE format type thing, right? That if one person's not giving his clear answers, then you'll give them more space to kind of like work out what it is that they're saying. But I think I would point to different parts of the exercise which I would say like highlight bias overall. So one of those would be, for example, when Chris was like persistently interrupting and then also went into like personal insults and things, that I would say it's the space of a moderator there to kind of say, actually, I'm not going to like reward over shouting. It's not the case that the loudest voice wins. You both get kind of like an equal space. You'll get a space to reply. So you just need to kind of like be quiet for a second, let them make their point, and then I'll come back. Whereas it seemed in the moment, and there's a lot like Doug said this before, right? Maybe you were just Chris started talking and you moved the mic, but there were a few times where he was just like interrupt and he'd kind of get possession of the mic, right? And I think that that's a little bit unfair.
Okay. So let me tell you what to my satisfaction would satisfy this conversation.
First off, that's a huge accusation. It's a huge accusation. And again, it just shows you more bullshit. Instead of just being honest about the situation, be honest about the bias. Oh no, I went to them more because you were clearer. Yeah. And so since you were clear, I didn't need to ask you for clarity. It's like, no, I'm talking about, when he was like talking over me and insulting me and calling me out my name. It's just, again, like, this was just one of those examples of just seeing this song and dance just play out in real time.
Satisfy everybody in this conversation. Let's find 20 random people who never heard of street epistemology, who never heard of anything, and let's show them that video. And then let's ask them what line they think I would have been on. And if those people tell you, so I actually don't believe that you guys are going to change your mind. Like I genuinely don't believe that. And I don't even believe that if we found 20 random people and showed them the conversation and asked them and they said they don't know or the opposite line, I still don't think that would change your mind because I think you've made up your mind beforehand. But that's a reasonable test. Well, you can laugh all you want, but that's what I believe.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm saying
no, I know you're not.
I actually agree with what you've said, but it's important to bear in mind that we don't have that data, so we can't just assume
correct.
The outcome of that data.
That's 100% correct. But that would be a way to figure out if they were biased. And I will tell you right now, if you got 20, I know 100 X number of people, but something you do with 100 people, whatever it is. If they said that if they either accurately guessed what line I was on,
intellectual,
or
got the right skew, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact one of the 7, but within one mat, either way, I would say, wow, okay, I guess Harvard bias. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Should have facilitated better.
Wait. So maybe I don't understand. You're saying that like the judge here, or the sort of factor here is whether people can predict where
Paul's comment.
Not predict, because predicting is not having seen the whole thing. You would have guessed beforehand. It's not a prediction. It's an evaluation.
Right. So if people could infer just from like how you moderated the debate where you would have fallen on those questions, that would have been I think like, look, actually, I don't think you did all that. Like, I think it was reasonable, right? But I do think that it was pretty easy to infer where your position was, right? Just subtle body gestures.
But is that because you know Peter?
I don't think so, right? Like, I think during Nathan's like review, he even like paused at a point where, I think Billboard Chris was making some point about like a surgery or something, and you could see Peter wincing. And I think from that, it's just an inference, right? It's just a very clear inference where Peter would stand on it.
Sure, that's sure. Yeah, that's not unreasonable. It's also, I probably could have done a better job at not wincing. It is something that makes me or any sane person.
Yeah, all men should wince.
I don't know if one can make an inference about the line. But so let's say you got 200 people, 100 people, or whatever.
See, this is weird. Like I didn't even watch that, but like y'all catch this is obvious. Like there was clearly a trans debate. Again, the fucking surgery thing comes up, and he visibly winced, and here's Doug saying all men should wince. It's just it's crazy how easy they are, right? Like how just utterly predictable all this bullshit is.
And they said, wow, we don't know, or we guess wrong. The video that I just released today about God, I asked the guy in the end, what
Boom,
line do you
look,
think
see-
I should
see,
be
a
on?
YouTube part, I
And he
didn't
said
even-
basically the other side. I think it's a
Clearly.
great test question for the
Clearly.
end. But I guess my question to you would be, would you be willing to change your mind if we had 100 people who never even heard of street epistemology? They watched the whole video, and then you said to them, what line do you think that, what mat do you think that guy's on? And they were more than one line over in the other direction. Would you be willing to change your mind?
All right,
About
so
bias?
check it.
Yeah.
Now, first off, this is kind of interesting. First off, he says, if you grab the 100 people who never heard of street epistemology, that's actually a very important way of trying to be slick when you phrase that, right? Because most of us who have heard of street epistemology understand that street epistemologists often present themselves as neutral through the particular way they go about asking their questions. And if you aren't aware of that tactic, it might be harder to pick up on where they're actually coming from. Although, to be honest with you, it's usually not that hard, and most people can tell because they tell on themselves by the questions they ask. But it was sort of an interesting like caveat to put in there. The other thing that's interesting about that is why did the chat reset? The other thing that's interesting about the way they put this is they're sort of giving away the game. Oh, well, if we put these 100 people who never heard of street epistemology on, then do you think they would be able to tell which side I was on? You know, right? Like, in other words, the mission is to appear objective. The mission is to appear neutral, not to actually be neutral, but to appear neutral.
But for me, that would definitely move the needle. It wouldn't be conclusive.
What would
because
be conclusive? What would it take?
Well, I think there's a few different lines that kind of add into this, right? So one of them is going to be, for example, the type of people that you tend to interview and the content that you cultivate on your channel, for example. So overall, that leads into like my assessment of bias. It's not like an assessment of when I'm making the claim of like, I think there's bias going on here. I don't just mean in like one instance of SE, but I mean like overall in the kind of like the attempt to answer various like political and questions and so on.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we were having a conversation about bias in the Billboard Chris discussion.
Yeah,
is that not what we're having a conversation about? Did I get that wrong?
No, you're right.
You're right, but I think that we have to like be careful about distinguishing between the two, right? Because I might be making a claim about when I say Peter's got bias, right? I might mean in a general sense, or I might mean he's exhibiting bias in this particular case. In that particular case, you're right. If we did that, that would probably shift me completely on the example of SE, but it wouldn't change my overall mind.
Oh, okay. So that's a separate question that would have to be evaluated by different criteria. Yeah. So in the case of showing bias in the Billboard SE thing, if you had 100 people and they all showed that I was one line over my actual view, or they said I don't know, which would be the other thing, like, geez, I don't know where this guy is.
Yeah.
Then you would be willing to say that in that, and again, you're right, we don't have the data, but you would be willing to say on the basis of that that
yeah, but I was
quote,
I
had
wrong
so go ahead.
to say I would say I was wrong if we had that data and it showed that. I would say I was wrong, and it was my own biases that are kind of
all right. That's fair enough.
But one thing
I would be willing to do the same.
And one thing we were talking about before you got here, Peter, was I brought up the whole issue. Well, what does bias really matter in this specific case? So let's say, Peter, you were to say, I hate woke people. I think they're a pile of dog doo-doo, and I don't think trans people should have the right to exist. Now let's play spectrum street epistemology. I'm going to ask questions. And so do you think that if you're doing this type of street epistemology well, you could declare your biases up front and it shouldn't make a dent, should it?
I don't think so.
This is all just so fucking Doug. But in a sense, this is kind of what I'm complaining about, is that Peter's like trying to atomize this whole thing of, well, I can ask a neutral sounding question and I can look unbiased and don't you have to change everything you said? Like, no, dude, people know who you are. Again, it takes one glance at your YouTube page. You're someone who literally complains about the woke media, the takeover of leftist ideology, the fact that people indoctrinated into intolerant positions are school teachers and DEI officers. Like, bro, people, like, we know who the fuck you are. And Doug, with this bullshit about shouldn't we just be able to clear our biases up front, this is part of the difference that we're going to see in the perspective. This is all a fucking game to these people. And I realize that that's where a lot of the people who I think are decent people, who consider themselves progressive or allies, or people who generally, you know, have a better position on social issues and things like that, it's where so many of them fall short. Is at the end of the day, this is a game and they'll play the game with the other side and they do this for fun. And so, you know, Doug comes out, well, shouldn't I be able to tell you I don't think trans people should exist and I don't like these people and da 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 da. All right, now let's play the street epistemology game. No, because if you come out to most people and say all that nonsense, we're gonna tell you to go fuck yourself and we're not gonna play any fucking games with you, including fucking poker. But to Doug and the fuckfaces like Doug, I should be able to come right out, tell you all types of what kind of asshole I am, who I don't like, and who I'm prejudiced against. And then you should engage with me as though that has no effect on what's going to come out of my mouth afterwards. Again, and again with the street epistemology bullshit, right? Because it's basically the fuckface Frank Turek technique. So you know, literally, I'm imagining the videos. Y'all know the videos. You're out on fucking vacation with your significant other. You're walking up and down the boardwalk, eating funnel cake and ice cream from a cone, trying not to let your ice cream fucking melt. You know, thinking about buying some fucked up ass t-shirts or going to lay out on the beach. And then one of these assholes comes up to you and tells you, you know, they don't think trans people should exist. They're against the woke people. They don't think CRT should be taught in the schools. And hey, do you want to take my questionnaire? No, you can go fuck yourself. We're gonna go to the arcade and bye.
Maybe this isn't the answer you're looking for, and maybe I'm answering a different question, and I probably am. But I don't think that the criticisms of that street epistemology session are the most potent criticisms. In fact, I think they're all rather flaccid. I think that the best line of attack on that
we do that in this around here, around these parts.
You know, we've been using, or I'll just put it on myself and leave Reed out of this. I've been using street epistemology to help people communicate across divides.
Exactly, Steph.
In a civil way. And in that sense, I think particularly from toward the end of the video, I think it's a failure, and nobody criticized the video on that. I think that kind of criticism, and I'm saying that because it piggybacks off of Doug's comment. I agree with Doug, and I think that a far better criticism is that I failed to accomplish one of the primary things I've been attempting to accomplish with this new method.
Which is, what did you fail to accomplish?
In help people engage in civil conversation across gulfs or divides, and help them understand why people believe, kind of from the Jürgen Habermas theory of communicative action, help them understand why they believe what they believe as opposed to agree. And I don't think certain parties understood why the other parties thought what they thought. And I think that the end of that, it kind of had a rapid disintegration, a caustic, bitter disintegration. And I think it failed on that as well. And I didn't hear anybody level those criticisms. And I think those are far more potent criticisms.
Well, I said on my channel when I reviewed it that Billboard Chris got emotional at the end.
Well, here's something important though, because from going to your channel, Peter, like there is no way I would ever know that you thought that that Billboard Chris, in fact, was failing at the most important value of having rational conversations, because I would think that you instead endorsed his views because there's, like a 1.5 hour interview with him one-on-one. And that seems more like a,
I do endorse the view that I've said repeatedly and unabashedly, I am opposed to people transitioning before their 18th birthday.
Right. And so it seems like they're a separate thing.
Okay, and in this y'all already know that struck me. First off, that just strikes me as just being against trans people. I don't know why they play these word games and put up these little weird boundaries and like, bro, like we know you're against trans people, and in this case, you think that saying I'm against people transitioning before 18 makes you sound more sensible, but actually it makes you sound crueler because it makes it sound like you just want to pick on trans children. And again, like it's just really frustrating that we deal with people like this. They're clearly bigots, but what we break down in the play-by-play is the word games. How did we do at staging the debate and giving the appearance of neutrality? No, these are people's lives. These people, these are fucking assholes. And he basically admitted, right? Like, yeah, I had you do this debate with this clearly prejudiced person. I clearly agree with them. He interviewed that other person on his channel, but he wants to drag us through the mud on this whole exercise about him appearing neutral and having this new tactic. And this new tactic is supposed to give the appearance that when I sit people down who disagree with each other, I want them to come to an understanding about why they disagree and why they see it differently. Gang, this is just all bullshit. It's a way of saying I want to dress bigots up in a suit and tie and make you swallow their nonsense. And this is the thing we have to stop buying into. We know where the other side is coming from. We know why they believe what they believe. You are not doing shit for anybody by having us sit down and have a fucking focus group with assholes.
Things that you're trying to do, right? One of them is with a political agenda, but the other one is with an agenda to exhibit this kind of idealized rationality virtue or something like that.
No, I disagree. I don't have a political agenda when I do those. Unless you consider exposing why people believe what they believe to be a political agenda. I do believe that many of the views people hold, even, for example, evolution, I accept the facts of evolution, but most people couldn't answer the first. They have not even the slightest clue of natural selection or why, baboons didn't evolve into humans or what have you. So it's just exposing a failure in reasoning. If you want to say that falls into political domain, well, I guess maybe then.
No, I don't think Nathan's saying that. He's not saying that SC moment with Billboard Chris and him was a political thing, but he's saying the other stuff you do is.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of this.
Do y'all see the cruelty in this? It's a bunch of men, far as we could tell, cis men, sitting down, going over the game tape of a debate about trans people and trans youth who are in the middle of a fucking social genocide. And what we really want to do is break down the X's and O's of the street epistemology and whether or not it could have appeared to be more nuanced. Who gives a fuck? And this is part of the problem. We like don't sit down, like they don't, you don't look like you're bringing clarity to the issue. You look cruel. You look like you've been sucked into their fucked up ass game. And when we talk about people as a political football, this is what we mean. You're playing a game with people's lives.
The importance of rational disagreement and so on, but it almost seems like kind of like civility porn or something like that. Like it's a kind of
yes,
it's a
civility
kind of
porn. Yes,
intellectual pageantry
right
or something. What really the agenda is to push a particular political point of view, and that would be, you know, and that would be shown by, for example, enabling a whole bunch of like heterodox right-wing guests to put forward their opinions, and having a minority of opinions to disagree with them, not allowing extended forms of disagreement with people who are equally as informed on topics and things like that.
So let me ask you a question.
See, that was so clear, Nate. That was so, like, that Nate right there spoke right to it. The problem is when we think we're outsmarting the other side and we see that, and then we do it anyway. Oh, I see you're not really unbiased. I see that you're not really a neutral platform. I see that you're really here to push an ideology. I see that you're really here to push a certain political agenda. Oh, okay. Well, fuck it. I don't have anything better to do on Tuesday. I'll play ball.
Do you know Reed?
Yeah.
Do you trust Reed?
With some things, depends on what.
What
Not
do you
with my
trust him
life,
with?
maybe.
What do you trust him with?
Maybe like certain personal information, small sums of cash.
I trust Reed.
What don't you trust him with?
My life, my where I hid the bodies. I don't know.
Okay, so if I were to tell you, and Reed is 50 feet from me right now, that we have attempted to get guests on to have conversations. For example, we'd love to have a guest, and right now I'll make it once again public. And I would like to linger on this point because I find myself to be exasperated and enraged at the same time, because this is a narrative that is promoted by people who either they're willfully ignorant,
all right, he's
or
pissed, Joe. Let's see what
it's
he's
a kind
pissed
of
about.
malicious slander. So we're going to have Matt Goodwin on again. I would love, who's a British political scientist who is very knowledgeable, and Eric Kaufman. I'd love to have people who are pro-immigration. They won't come. I cannot get people on the left to come. That's why I asked if you trust Reed, because you can just ask Reed. I've been saying for years and years, after the grievance studies thing in 2018, I got overwhelmed with right-wing invitations. I'm going to turn off that chat. I get overwhelmed with, oh no, that's even worse. I got overwhelmed with invitations from the right, no one on the left. I repeatedly put out tweets. I literally called on the phone, emails. I think I sent Slate a couple of actual snail mails. I want to talk about this. No, it's only the right. And then here's the narrative. Then the narrative becomes, and I don't know, Nathan, if you're doing this intentionally to malign and slander, or if it's just, you're just woefully ignorant, but I'm going to be blunt with you. Then the narrative.
Y'all got this so far. He's pissed. He's mad. And then he just softballed it because he's so civil. He's so civil. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if it's that you're doing this on purpose to malign me, or if you're willfully ignorant. I'm not sure, but those are the only two options. Okay, I got it, dude. You're pissed. You don't know if I'm doing this on purpose. Like boy.
Narrative becomes, Boghossian doesn't get people to play who's on the right, who are on the left. Boghossian doesn't go on the left, anything on the left to talk. This is something that I hear over and over again that I genuinely don't know if it's willful ignorance or if it's a kind of defamation. We have tried repeatedly to get people on the left. In fact, and you don't even have to believe me, the Mythicist Milwaukee guys try to get people. I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again. And people on the left, like Johan Hari, will tell you they will not come to talk to me. They will. Now, that doesn't mean that.
All right, gang. But look, this is where we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. This is what I meant when I said we got to talk about. We have to have a conversation about the conversation, right? Because rather than us, the left, the people who are supposed to be sticking up for common sense, saying, oh, okay, well, yeah, you did want to have that debate about not transitioning below 18, and you did wince when we talked about these surgeries. Let's talk about why your cruel ass wants to deny medical care to children. No, we're not going to have that conversation. Instead, Peter's pissed, and his precious reputation has been besmirched. Why? Because he is willing to engage with people on the left, and people on the left won't engage with him. And how dare you misrepresent his willingness to have conversations with people that don't agree with him? And now we're going to sit here and defend this man's grievances. That is actually going to become the thing we talk about instead of, Peter, you're an asshole and you can go fuck yourself, which is what the conversation should be about.
And all of them won't come to talk to me. People with small platforms or who are literal nobodies on YouTube will come, but nobody of any substance.
Yeah, you better, because there's nobody on YouTube would definitely come. I definitely got time to shove this foot all the way up this dude's ass.
Will play Spectrum Street epistemology with us. Nobody who has any sizable platform will come and have a conversation. And so I just find that criticism to be...
He's so mad.
I find it to be so profoundly dishonest.
How dare you?
So I leave the insults about no platform or brain or whatever aside, for people like myself who disagree and will talk and not be invited. But with regard to if I were to see the people that you reached out to, right, that would do something to change my mind in terms of thinking that there's been an earnest attempt there. But I mean, for example, the last time you
don't think the attempt is earnest when we try to get people. You don't think we sincerely try to get people on the left to have a conversation with us?
Well, I think my opinion right now is probably that overall there's more of an attempt to like nutpick loons, right, rather than like.
Okay, why don't we do this right now?
Well, but how about? Like I said, that's I've not seen a list or anything.
Okay, why don't we do this? I'm going to give you what you're looking for. Why don't we do this right now? Why don't you come up with a list of 10 people on the left, or 20 or 100? You come up with a list of 100 people on the left who would want to have a conversation with me about immigration in the UK. This was literally
my next point. My next point was, so last time we talked, you asked this same question, and I did provide you with names of people. And I was interested to know whether you could remember the names of people that I asked, right? That was my kind of gotcha, because I don't think it will happen, because I think there's a type of file in the drawer effect taking place where you're telling yourself this so strongly that you're in this neutral position, but actually all of this like disconfirming evidence is going in one ear out the other. But that would change if you remembered the people that I did tell you about.
Nathan, listen, there's literally nothing I can say to satisfy you. So here's what I'm going to do.
It's reproducing the list of names.
Don't lie. Exactly.
It's not a lie. Don't tell me I'm lying.
Don't lie. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you exactly what you're looking for. I don't believe you.
Yeah,
here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you exactly what you're looking for.
This is not rational.
Well, listen, I'm going to give you what you're looking for.
And again, look at the fire. Look at the fire that comes out of the belly. And again, I'm not here to crap all over Nate, but look, now we're getting into it. Because again, we think this is really the shit, right, gang? This is this thing where, you know, fuck dealing with racism. Nobody better call me a racist. You know, that's the real problem in the world. And he is really mad that you would suggest he has not made a sincere effort to engage with the left, and we will go to the mat to defend him dying on this hill.
You give me the names, Nathan. I'm going to give you what you're looking for.
But this is going to get
you
good,
give me
though.
the names of 100 people, 100 with sizable, reasonable platforms, not some random guy on the internet who would want to have a conversation with Matt Goodwin and Eric Kaufman on immigration in the UK, and I will personally invite them.
You're
to
not
my
giving him
email
what
account.
you're not giving him what he's looking for. That's not what he was.
Hang on. Can I ask a question, Nathan, of you?
What he was looking for.
Your criterion, Nathan, was
Right.
to ask Peter to remember the list you gave him.
Yeah, because
Is that a fair thing to ask?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
what if he didn't know these people?
Well, the thing is though, Doug, that we had a conversation similar to this where he told me the same story about how no one from the left wants to talk, and then I disagreed and said I know people who want to talk, and I provided names. So the point that I'm raising is, yeah, okay, sure, like he might not remember all of them perfectly, but maybe even reproduce one of those names. Right?
Okay, so you gave him a list of how many names, verbally or via email?
I think it was about 5 names verbally in a conversation.
Okay, and you're expecting him to remember those names off the top of his head?
Maybe not all of them.
I
Maybe
think
not all of them.
You'd be happy if you remembered one?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Okay, Peter, try hard. Try to remember one.
I don't even remember the conversation. But
Nathan's happy.
So listen, this is what I'm gonna do. And
Doug
I don't
thinks
know
this is so
why
funny.
what you think matters to me, because I'll be blunt, it really doesn't. I'm just being very blunt with you, because I do not believe you're going to change your mind. You give me the list of 100 people. Look, you're not going to change your mind. You just, dude, you know why I know that? I'll tell you exactly why I know that. Because you're not an honest, good faith actor. Because you have said repeatedly, you can laugh at me all you want.
Now look, they're laughing, but here's what's so amazing about this fucking game, y'all. They get to say the shit we should be saying to them. So they're laughing like, oh, the audacity like of him to sit up in here and say that. But look, y'all have been treating him the entire time like he's a good faith interlocutor, and you should know he's not. And you should know he's not, but you won't call him out on it. But he'll call you out, and you'll just keep going along like it's funny.
I have, we don't make any effort to get people on the left on the show. That's just, I mean, that's why I asked if you trusted Reed, because you can ask Reed, you can ask our project manager. We try nothing more that I want than this. This is what I want.
Hey, Nathan, do you believe him? Do you believe what Peter just said?
Well, I would have liked to give him the last word, Doug, but
No, but that's important. Peter just said. Now, Peter just said he doesn't believe you, or that anything will change your mind. But do you believe what he just said?
Yeah. Of course I don't. I think I've said that lots of things.
There we go.
You don't, or you do?
No, I think that lots of things would change my mind.
No. Do you believe that they've actually tried to get people on the left to talk to them?
I'm not sure if they've made an earnest attempt. I think
there you go.
I think they might have.
There you
some
go.
emails.
So you don't believe him, and he doesn't believe you.
There you go.
Well,
there
no,
you go. Would you believe Reed?
Here's fucking Doug, both sides in this bullshit. This is why this is a perfect example of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We should just say, who cares? They don't want to talk to you. We're gonna get to that point, because I think Deepak's nemesis is gonna say something I want to react to. But it's just so painful to watch people sit here and play this game. Like, you have to prove to these people that you're willing to sit down with them and you're willing to engage with them, when you know good and goddamn well that they are playing you.
Would you believe Reed?
I'm gonna let him get
There's
to
a
his thing.
disconnect.
No,
man.
it's not that I don't believe. It's not-
Yes or no? Would you believe Reed?
It's not about belief.
Yes or no? Would you trust
believe
Reed if he told you, we have reached out to people on the left and they will not come on? Would you believe him?
How about listen
No,
to
I
what Nathan's trying
trust
to
you,
say?
Peter. I trust you that you have sent emails to people. It's not about not believing you on that point. The question is, who have those emails been to, right?
Okay.
And are they representative of like relevant normal experts? Are they like, is it trying to get people who will draw
Okay.
an audience rather than relevant normal experts?
So
And then-
I'm going to ask Death is No Parentheses and Deepak if they think what I'm about to say is reasonable. If you think this is not
we
reasonable,
don't have to triangulate. We can just.
well,
you know,
no,
let-
I'm going to ask them because that's fine. Nathan, I'm going to ask Nathan to give me 100 names of people on the left who are pro-immigration on the UK. I will reach out to them, and not only will I reach, please let me finish. Not only will I will reach out to them, I will CC you on every single email that comes out that we send. And I am willing to bet you that none of those people will come on. In fact, not only am I willing to bet you, I'm willing to bet you with odds a substantial amount of cash, $5,000.
Again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, because this is what they want. Give me more monkeys on the left who I can use to show my audience that I'm willing to engage with them and I'm going to own the left. Or they don't show up and then I get to say, look, they're scared. I tried to talk to them. We tried to sit down and engage with them. It's why we're just past this point, man. It's why we have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. We've got time to say, look, we're trying to move society in a different direction, specifically a direction that protects the interest of marginalized people. If you're not on board with that, you can go fuck yourself. The time for the talking has stopped. I am so much more concerned about trans children than right-wing assholes. You would have no idea. One of these groups is in danger. The other is literally the most dominant group to ever dominate groups. Like, I mean, for real, y'all. In their position is just based in cruelty. And I gotta be honest with you, like, I'm so fortunate to have trans friends. In one of the things that really is powerful is the stories of their youth, their development, their growing up. And one of the things that's also clear is, in a community that celebrates science and medicine, is shit's changed, y'all. Right? And there's some medicines and some practices from the level of the community, the family, the school, the social interventions, the medicine, and yes, in some cases, even the surgical, that can make this thing less traumatic than it used to be, right? And we should be pushing, in my opinion, to get as many children as possible access to the medical care they need so that we can realize the advances in medicine. But this is how the right beats the left every single time, because they make it a big deal. They make a big stink about something. And then people, in this case, trans people, in this case, trans children, start losing rights they already have. Start not having access to medicine they used to be able to get access to because some right-wing fuckhead in their state introduced some dumbass legislation that the right-wing Supreme Court in their state upheld. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But this is how we give this shit passage, by sitting down with it across the dinner table and having these civilized conversation, and then beating brow about the civility politics rather than the cruelty of these people, because the cruelty is the only thing they're about. And again, I wish they would just say it with their chest. I wish they would just come right out and say who they are, because it's very clear who they are. But once we see it, once we recognize it, we've got to speak to it and get on the offense instead of playing defense. Because this is ridiculous. Just sitting here playing defense about whether or not he really invites leftists on his platform. Who gives a flying fuck? Because it's just bullshit either way.
None of 100 people come on. The first thing is I don't know 100 people though, Peter. Like,
Well, yeah, make it lower, make it 50. I don't know, 20.
Okay, how many experts in on the left in immigration? I mean, I just picked that because those are the people that we've agreed to.
So I probably know about 10, right? That I
Okay.
could give you a list of. But that's
Okay.
obviously going to reduce my odds of someone coming on in terms of a bet. Like that.
Okay, but if you think I invite people on the left, if you don't think so do you think that they're not going to come on to have a conversation with Matt Goodman or Eric Kaufman on immigration?
Well, I'm genuinely not sure, right? I'm genuinely not sure overall. I don't know is my answer. I think that probably with persistence, at least one of them would. So maybe if you sent like 2 or 3 emails over time to an academic email address, because emails get lost or whatever, you made the case about how you want to genuinely give them space to air their views and things like that, I think they would.
Okay.
But I don't
So
know.
just so that I am understanding this, you think that I have not made an earnest effort to get people on the left, I'm echoing, to get people on the left either to talk to me in a conversation or to play SSE, like people with platforms. You actually believe that, and you're not just trolling me.
He's
Like, you
literally
sincerely believe that.
I
He's
sincerely
so
believe
mad.
that.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Okay, I could be wrong, right?
No, you are wrong.
You can make a bet.
Why don't you
I'm totally willing to make a bet. You give me the names of 10 people.
Checkmate leftist. Checkmate leftist. You lied. You didn't treat me like an honest interlocutor. You lose. I win. Spike the football. And now what? And now what? Well, he did. Well, that was a good point. So what? So what does this say? The issue still remains, right? The difference of opinion that's supposed to be the actual substance of the issue, that's still there, right? So what? I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is why it's all a waste of time.
But even then, that's only moving forward. It's not a backward bet. So there's no defeasibility criteria for that belief.
Well, there were.
So
Can you remember what it was, Peter, when I gave it before?
Dude, if
In
I
this
write something,
like-
did I pull out my phone and write it down?
What? No, not that. I'm not talking about. That was one defeasibility. There were multiple defeasibility criteria I gave.
Okay, so
I was actually talking about something more reasonable than that. So I was saying
Feasibility
what you could do,
criteria.
for example, is provide me with the names of like the people you have sent emails to. Like I would believe you, and then it'd be up to me to make an assessment of whether or not I think they're like a good representative sample of the type of people who are relevant experts you'd want to talk to. Like, I think that's being pretty reasonable with all that.
And what would you conclude at the end of the day? What would you conclude that?
And that's the thing we need to do is put that pressure on. But where this is what I'm saying. You people have got to stop being so unwilling to have an uncomfortable conversation, because that's the deal. Hey, they're not going on your show because you're a Nazi. Deepak's nemesis.
What would the conclusion be if I provided you names
here that I think's
or
pretty good.
moving forward in terms of making a prediction? You gave me names. I reached out. You were CC'd, and none of those people wanted to talk to me. What conclusion would you then draw?
I would change my mind that you're making an earnest attempt to talk to people.
There you go. Let's do it.
Okay, that's fine. Then why don't you get me those names, and I will have our project manager send those out, those invitations, and CC you on every single correspondence. And I'm willing to bet you $5,000, depending on the people. They have to have sizable platforms, etc. I'm willing to make you a public bet that none of those people will come on for a conversation.
I would need 10-1 odds to bet against that bet.
There's still a
And
genuine.
this is Steph to Steph's point too. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with Doug. I gotta admit, like, almost any time I'm in a stream and Doug comes through, I I just start saying shit. And it's to the point where it's like, why are we all so comfortable? You know, this man has a Christmas wish list of bigotries, and then when he comes in the room, everybody, hey Doug, oh good to see you. Yeah, oh Doug's content so great. Like people are not only comfortable with the Nazi in the room, they're licking the Nazi's boots, and I'm not, I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm at a point where I'm like Maya. We should just be calling that shit out, and I guess I'll just call it out till somebody stops me.
A genuine question.
Why, Doug? Because you think you agree?
No, I'm on your side. Like, I think you're right. So I would, in order for me to bet against you, I would need, I'll put up 10 to win 50 or 100. But I agree with you. The people on the left are scared to have conversations like this in general. David Pakman came into my mind, Peter, someone you could reach out to.
He would be a good person.
He would be the exception.
He's the exception. He went on with the trigonometry guys. I think he's the exception.
And again, this is frightening because again, fuck David Pakman on some of these things, right? David, and again, like I like David's channel. He makes some good content, but he's problematic on a lot of what I think. I don't think a lot of people don't consider David Pakman a real leftist. I'm gonna just put it to you like that. And certainly see his recent bootlicking session with Richard Dawkins isn't somebody I'd be comfortable representing a progressive perspective, especially on trans issues. I don't know. It's almost like, for some reason, it's almost like if there's these trans issues and you want somebody on the left to represent them, it's almost like they should find a trans person on the left instead of another cis white dude.
The criteria for having a large platform. So it's not universal. There are some standouts. I don't think it's scared, Doug. I think it's something else that's operative. I think that they have the left, people on the left, that never used to be the case, but this is something recently that's proselytized leftism, have a fear of contamination. Oh, I spoke to this guy. He spoke to this guy. He was on this PragerU or whatever. He was on this platform. Therefore, if I'm seen talking to him, I'll lose cred in my cred in my community. I'll lose credibility. I'll lose street cred. I can't be seen talking with this guy.
Bill Maher would talk to you as well, but he's old school liberal.
But he's not. He's not like the social justice left.
Have you tried reaching out to Destiny, for example? He goes on like hostile platforms all the time.
That's a good point.
Peter's talked to Destiny already.
Yeah. Okay. And we did a panel together. I don't consider him to be on the woke left. I mean, look, old school leftists like, Chomsky, they'll talk to anybody. Well, I mean, not Chomsky now, but Chomsky when he was younger. And if you ever seen the Bill, there's a wonderful little documentary. I think it's on Netflix. The Gore Vidal, William F. Buckley debates. Those guys are like old school. We hash it out. We get through a problem. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about people who traffic in identity politics.
I mean, look, if you want people to the left, significantly to the left of Destiny, I think I don't even know why. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess there's some reasons to engage, but you're not engaging with like any sort of majority or even a reason, like I don't know what percentage it is, but like it's not the percentage that is worth reaching out to in some sense, right? The most important one to reach out to either, right?
I just find that Nathan's line of criticism, and I'd like to think you're sincere. I just find that line of criticism so enraging that we don't reach out to people on the left, and I don't attempt to get myself on left-wing shows. It's just a monstrously false thing to say.
It's just more of this fucking bullshit tactic. This guy is so enraged when you don't play his little game, and that's what pisses him off about the social consequences of some of his views. Right? They want to preemptively stop you from giving them their just desserts. They know good and goddamn well they're sitting on some antisocial bullshit. They know what the criticism is. Let me be clear with the criticism. Y'all are some fucking bigots. That's the goddamn criticism. The criticism is you're bigots in 2023. People, if anybody doesn't understand what the beef with fucking Pine Creek is, let me make it very clear for you. Doug is a fucking bigot. Okay? He has said, again, I say bigot. I use bigot for a reason. It's a large umbrella term. It's much more efficient. He has said shit that is sexist and misogynistic. He has said shit that is classist. He has said shit that is racist. He has said shit that is homophobic. He has said shit that is fucking anti-trans. He has said shit that's anti-immigration. So just pick from the C. See, you realize that's a long list. Instead, we just say bigot. They're bigots. That's the problem. That is the problem. And they know that absolutely the response right now should be, yeah, I saw you talking to that bigot. So that means one of two things. Either you didn't know they were a bigot, or yeah, you're about to be there's about to be some consequences for you too, because you don't know how this works yet. This is not a fucking game. And they know that. So instead, they want to preempt that. They want to basically say, don't you dare cut me off for this. Don't you dare not associate with me. So they demonize that. Oh, it's like people don't want to be seen talking to you. It's like when you have certain political views, right? They're trying to take you back to high school. When you have certain political views, no one will sit with you at the lunch table. Yeah, bro. Yeah, dog. Yeah, you goddamn right. You're a fucking Nazi. Yeah, we saw your little SS tattoo. Guess what? Yeah, not me and my fish sticks with somebody else. Best believe.
Well, why aren't people on the left, Nathan, emailing Peter constantly saying, please, I want to talk to you. I heard you say this and this is false and I think you're wrong here. Why aren't they emailing Peter?
Or you think they are and I'm ignoring them.
I'm somehow like
they're
so close, gang.
I think that it's a worry about the platform not being neutral, a worry about digging for sound bites and things like that, a worry about not being given a fair space.
What platform is not neutral?
Ooh.
Which platform?
Y'all, that was good. Nathan was rapid fire with the answers. This is the answers, Doug. They're worried the platform's not neutral. They're worried the shit's going to be clipped out of context. They're worried it's a waste of their fucking time. Come on, man.
Okay, this is an issue I think we should talk about, Peter,
because
how
YouTube works.
I've said this to Anthony and other people in the street epistemology community that just because we have this tool called street epistemology doesn't mean you have to use it every single time, right? And so when you say platform, Nathan, you might be looking at some things where Peter's giving his opinion, his stance, he's agreeing with his guests, blah, blah, blah. And there's 100%. Other videos where he's actually doing spectrum street epistemology.
Right. And so the other idea, to speak to Nathan's comment about the platform, is they don't have to go on my show.
Maybe they busy.
I'm more than happy to go on their show. And again, there are rules. If someone's harassed me, I won't do it. That's my golden rule. If you have harassed me, you're out of the pool for people with whom I'll have a conversation. And you know, just because someone invites you, that doesn't mean, like, I can invite someone and they're under zero obligation to go.
Vidal called Buckley a Nazi. Peter calls people goddamn queers, and nobody will call him a Nazi. That's where the left fails. Abso-fucking-lutely.
But if I have now invited enough people and invited myself on enough left-wing shows, and they will have absolutely none of me. I bet you if I picked up my email, my phone right now, I would have emails from people, invitations. I just did mention PragerU. I just did a thing with PragerU. I'm constantly getting invitations from the right.
I'm constantly.
And again, there's the narrative. It's like Brett. When Brett first went on Tucker Carlson's show, people were enraged. Now the political and to a large extent, the epistemological landscape has somewhat shifted. The Overton window has changed. And so everyone was freaking out that Brett went on Tucker Carlson. Dan Dennett was mad at me, was upset with me because I went on Tucker Carlson's show. And the idea then that here's the picture.
I don't know if
Boghossian
he really
only
has
goes-
relationships with these people, or he's just throwing names under the bus at this point. But I'm hoping he's not trying to imply he's friends with Daniel Dennett.
Was
Let's
on right-wing
just
shows.
keep going.
He's a tool of the right. He's a right-wing maniac, etc.
You are
In spite
all
of my
these
best
things.
efforts, my sincere, and I know you don't believe that, and I don't really care that you believe it, but I'm telling you it's a fact. In spite of my sincere efforts to go on these people's shows, literally to invite myself.
Gang, this is a plausible deniability. Let me give you the thing. You stop caring about their sincerity. Who cares about their sincerity? I don't give a shit. Let me tell you what we used to do back in the day. We used to get together on the holidays or whatever. We used to go to grandma's house, and me and my cousins would want to go out and smoke some weed and, cut loose and have some fun, right? I'm obviously not going to say to grandma, hey, grandma, we're about to go out and smoke some weed, cut loose, have some fun. We'll be back high as shit later for leftovers. No. What you say is, grandma, we about to go out for a minute and run to the store. You need anything from the store? Right? Say grandma says, yeah, we can use some OJ or whatever, blah, 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 whatever, right? What would we do, y'all? First thing you do when you leave the house is do what? Go to the fucking store. Get what the fuck you fucking need. Then you fucking smoke, chill out, have your little weed session, and then you do what? Come back, groceries in hand, like you said you was going to the store. Come on, y'all. We all know how to do some plausible deniability, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta cover it with a little bit of, you don't cover it with a blatant lie. You cover it with the truth. That way, what? You could say, we sincerely said we were gonna go to the store, which she was going to do anyway, because we was getting high, so we needed some candy, some munchies, and something to drink anyway. Right? We sincerely said we was going to the store. We went to the store, and we even included others. Come on now, can't be mad at that. That's all this is. That's all this is. What? Don't you believe that I sincerely invite people from the left onto my show so I can talk to them? Like, who cares? Is that's literally what is gonna make me think you're a sincere actor and all this? Get the fuck out of here.
They will not have me. And so it just reaches a point now
He's
where
like telling us he
I'm now
sincerely
done.
trolls people.
I'm done. I'm truly done with attempting to reach out to them or even going on their show.
Oh, there we go. There we go. And now he's got scorn debutante syndrome. I'm done. I'm done. You don't even appreciate my efforts around here.
Shows. I don't even think I want to go on. I think I'm done with it at this point. Where were you? I'm done. But I still would like to get them on my show.
I'm finished.
What kind of responses do they give you when you do reach out? Like, do they respond
Nothing.
at all? Do they
Crickets. After my resignation letter, after the grievance studies thing, I could not possibly, gut filled everybody. I could not possibly tell you how many invitations I got. None from the left. We reached out to the left. After the resignation letter, I cannot possibly tell you how many invitations from people on the right. All over the place. All on the right. Not a one on the left. We kept going on. The exception to that is, beside David Pakman, I've been on his show 3 times now, I believe. You can Google that. I was invited on OPB's which Oregon Public Broadcasting, and I did go on that. James Lindsay and I went on that, and you can look it up. It's a radio
just
show.
like
That's the only thing, as far as I know, the only people who have reached out to me.
I remember you talking to Mark Clement Hill as well once as well. But I
Yes.
agree with the disparity.
Yes, we went on his show. I
Jasper.
can't remember if he invited us or if we invited ourselves on his show. I don't remember which way that went.
So I think the problem here, though, from my point of view, is that there's so many assumptions going on behind what you think I believe about why you do what you do and so on, right? So it's not that I don't think you're sending emails or things like that. Like I think that you've probably got a perfectly consistent worldview with your actions about what you do, but my view instead takes into account the types of like epistemic virtues that people cultivate over time based on the actions they take, the type of pressures that exert on them. So there's various effects like audience capture. The thing about profiles come up a lot, the size of people's profile, hanging around with people who are in this kind of heterodox right-wing podcast ecosystem. So like the Weinsteins, and the same things happen to them with like vaccine skepticism and UFOs, like Tucker, you know, people who are affiliated with Elon and his platform and so on, where there's a whole ecosystem of institutional skepticism, of kind of heterodox right-wing political ideas. And I think that by affiliating with so many of these people, you've kind of cultivated an audience that then there's a pressure for you to generate metrics by appealing to those audiences' views. I also think that by being socially close to those people, there's a tendency for you to want to align with their views over time, right? And I think that comes across in some of the kind of self-narrative that you're saying about the way that these things are happening. So, for example, there's an evil other of the people who won't talk to you for certain reasons. And, you know...
Well, Nathan, just ask Peter, are you doing this for the money and for the views? Just ask him.
Well, I'm not saying it's just those reasons, right? I think there'll be a part. I could just ask him.
Ask him how big a part of it is the views then.
Yeah. But why didn't you say to Peter, just ask Nathan when he was making assumptions about my point?
And again, here's why you don't play this game with these assholes. Nathan is actually doing a good job. Nathan is playing the fucking game, right? He's sitting there calmly. He's not getting emotional. He's not ranting and raving and calling people fuck faces like Uncle Bobby would. He's literally just explaining shit, and he's talking a little about audience capture and the bias of the platform and different things like this. And Doug jumps in and treats it like he's insulting the man, like he called him out his name. Well, just ask him if he's doing it for the views and the money. And again, like, and trying to turn it into an ad hominem attack. And this is why, again, this is really problematic to be engaging bad faith actors as though they're engaging good faith, because you give and they take, and you give some more and they take some more, and then you give some more. And I don't know why your dumbass keeps giving and expecting something different to happen, but they're just going to keep taking you for a ride. And that's what happens every time. You know, for the benefit of the audience, Nathan actually has done a pretty good job actually addressing the points, but it shows the futility because he's dealing with people who are just trying to clown him.
But I'm not making it. You told me explicitly. You literally, and we can why don't we clip out the tape? You told me explicitly about the right-wing guests in spectrum street epistemology, and I'm telling you that's just simply not true. It's factually not correct, and that's why I prefaced it by asking you if you trust Reed, because I'm fine if you don't believe me. You can just ask Reed. But that's why I said, would you trust him that we've reached out, that we've tried to get people, that I've asked our assistant to get people? Like, so I mean, I just don't know. And I also don't know. I guess it's a kind of criticism that exasperates me because I'm sick of playing this game. I'm sick of playing the game that you don't go on left-wing shows because you're a right-wing tool. You know, you're a right-wing grifter. You don't have people on the left wing on, not because they don't want to come on, because you just don't invite them on. That's just not true. I mean, it's just, it's just false.
Is, that from my point of view, I don't think that this is a decision that you've like made in isolation. Instead, I view it as like part of the systems that you're kind of embedded in.
So you do think it's a decision? You think I've made a decision to not invite people on the left on and to not go on shows of people of the left?
No, that's not the claim I'm making.
This is a great point,
I don't
Steph.
think there was like one decision
I think
that was made.
I think that is part of Doug's appeal, is that he sort of speaks to the desire for plain language in this space. But yeah, shit. Like let's do this. Let's do the same. And that's actually that's a good point. I think we would do better. It's kind of my thing, even when it comes to a lot of the counter apologetics. Like, I ultimately think, you know, dancing and beating around the bush with people is just a lot harder work than just people respect simplicity. Just keep it clear. Like, I just don't buy this story. I don't believe you. And yeah, we could use a lot of that clarity when dealing with these political ideologues as well.
Like, I'm just going to do this. Instead, the claim that I'm making is that there's a multitude of positive decisions that you've made that have changed your public profile and also your personal epistemology over time. So, for example, like going to Hungary, right, funded by the Matthias Corvingham Collegium, and then developing positive views about the Hungarian dictatorship and its violation of various like human rights. So imprisonment of journalists and things
you
like
can
that.
go down this rabbit hole all you want. We're talking about the very specific claims you made of me having left-wing people on, and of me going on left-wing shows. That's the claim. Let's stick to that and your evidence for that.
Yeah, so like you have appeared on a bunch of right-wing shows. I don't
Correct.
I think you'd agree to that yourself.
Correct.
And then that cultivates this type of public profile that then you've got to ask, well, does someone think they're going to be honestly represented by talking to someone who's in that ecosystem, right? And I think a lot of people...
Would you be happy with a third-party moderator then?
Yeah, I think that would make things far better, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that would really improve if Peter said, I want to have a conversation with you, and it's going to be moderated by this person we both agree,
Peter's
like
so
a centrist or
triggered.
something like that.
But we're still, I don't know why we stayed on this for so long.
Who's the you in that sentence? I want to have a conversation with who?
Well, it depends on the topic.
It should have been like, Peter, let's talk about the issues, okay? You invite left-wing people on your platform. I'm sorry that I didn't mean to trigger you. I'm sorry. You're right. You invite left-wingers on your show all the time. I don't know why they won't talk to you, but I'm here now. So let's talk about some of the issues of the day and have a conversation about what matters, because this is literally just his personal grievances. And that's what this always turns into. This is just basically conservative persecution syndrome. It's just like it's Christian persecution, but just for right-wing ideologues. It's the same thing.
But for example, someone from WPATH about trans issues, and not someone who advocates for like SEGM, which like a political lobbyist group, rather an actual evidence.
Okay, so just go ahead, Doug, and then I want to drill down on that,
because I thought I heard Peter say earlier, Nathan, that he's sick of it now, but previously he was willing to go on their shows, so they get control of what's asked and
yeah, but he actually said now he wouldn't. So
right, I know, but previously, even this third-party moderator is not an issue when he's actually said, "Look, I will go on your show."
But this
for years. This is not like a month. This is years.
So the more and more you've been in the right-wing ecosystem, you've built up this narrative of like the persecution and so on.
I got you.
Of course I wouldn't talk to that.
Okay, even if I grant you all that, so what? Why are the left-wing liberals so weak, or progressive so weak, that they are terrified that they're going to be taken out of context or whatever? Like, why can't they have the attitude like me? Go ahead. I just assume you're going to strawman me. I just assume you're going to do your worst to me. I don't care. I want the conversation.
So, Doug, this is something I was
why can't they be more like me?
Right. Like, look, if we're granting all that you will be taken out of context and you may not even have an opportunity to correct the record, right? With like most of the audience, right? Then why would you do that, right? Like the point of
to have the conversation.
But like, how can you have a conversation if everything you say, or like a large majority of what you say is going to be misunderstood, right?
So is that the attitude? So death is no parenthesis. So is that the attitude why you think that the left, by and large, and again, Pakman is the exception, there may be some other exceptions, won't have conversations with people who criticize their ideology.
All right. We're getting into it now, right? Here's where we're getting to this thing I'm trying to talk about. This obsession with who's gonna have the conversation. Gang, can you name something over the last few years that's killed over 1 million people? How many of y'all, when I said name something that's killed over 1 million people in the last few years, thought of COVID? Yeah, thought of COVID? That's pretty good. Now, how many of y'all said, "Oh, I know, divisiveness," right? Because you always hear this shit. The divisiveness is really tearing us apart. No. COVID was killing us. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. You know what got George Floyd killed? Racism. Yeah. Do you know why the average black household has 10%? The average net worth of a white household? Racism. You know what bigotry is doing to trans people? It's getting them fucking killed. It's getting their rights taken away. It's making it so they can't participate in public life. But they want to act like, above all else, we have to sit down and have conversations with the people who are knowingly, willingly, and deliberately opposing the measures that would improve our material conditions. We don't owe them a fucking conversation anymore. And what needs to happen now is the pressure needs to shift to them to act accordingly. We've had enough conversations. Again, look at Peter Boghossian's. Again, look at this man said he's executing a blueprint to push back liberalism, and he'd like you to be directly involved. The blueprint has a twofold aim. First, to restore free speech and open inquiry as nonpartisan values. And second, to reveal the implications of far-left ideological takeover. Motherfucker, if you are writing essays, if you are here to reveal the implications of the far-left ideological takeover, we've had the conversation. You've had the conversation. No. You've taken the class and failed. Okay. We got to stop acting like that is what we owe them. But it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. We're gonna get into a little bit more.
Right? Like,
Well,
so
I'm asking. Do you think that's a reason?
I don't
You think that's
that.
a reason?
Let me offer two things here. Oh, never mind. Sorry, you're still going.
Yeah, like I don't accept that version of what you said, the way you generalize from yourself to like anybody who disagrees with the left, right, or however you framed it, right? Like I think you could like I presume now that there is evidence that there are like large people, like sets of people on the left who don't want to have a conversation with you, and maybe there are reasons, good or bad, for that, right? We could ask that question. I mean, and honestly, I do think like maybe there is an element on the left of like avoiding engaging with people they feel, behave in ways they don't approve of, like, to put it bluntly, right? Which I don't think is a good idea, right? I think that hypothesis is good. There might be other things too. Like, look, for example, right? Like, how do we know it's not the
Deepak Mem says you got to mute yourself when you type.
I'm not.
No.
That's not me. It's
That
the
was
other
me,
one.
and I forgot to mute myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not you, Deepak, the other guy.
Oh, the other one. Yeah. No, but like what I was going to suggest is like, what about like the possibility that, look, I mean, you're obviously well known in our community and you have a fairly large platform, but maybe the left, like maybe there's somebody who's like just like a person who like you, like, in style and stuff, and has a bigger platform, or for whatever reason they prefer to engage with, right? It might not be anything malicious, right? Maybe that's a possibility for at least some of them, right? Like they might not turn down an invitation from like Ben Shapiro, right? But Other things being equal, they might possible.
And Peter, to steelman on the other side, they might say, "You're just not big enough, Peter. You're not."
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. If that were the case, then why is it that so many others have experienced this? So I guess I do find myself exasperated because I don't. It's not only that the criticism isn't unfair, it's that I don't believe either people believe that from willful ignorance.
Gang, this is literally the bully who doesn't understand why he's sitting alone in the goddamn cafeteria. Because you pick on our friends, we don't like you, we don't want to be around you, we don't want to talk to you. Gang, I know that sounded like a scene from Mean Girls, but that's like Steph said, we got to keep it in the colloquial. Just keep it real. The answer to the question is we don't like you.
Ignorance, as I've said, or they just do it as a kind of way to classify and categorize somebody. But after years and years of doing this, I'm just really sick of it now, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I'm not going to beg people. I'm just done with it. I'm truly done with it. So you can believe anything that you want. There's
do you
nothing.
remember the reasons I gave, and were they different from willful ignorance or being like evil?
I'm sorry. Is some like banging in the background? Is there like a?
I don't think so.
There was
just like an
I think
apologist.
he's muted now, but there was some typing earlier.
Can't get people engaged, but he's
so
done
It
with
was like
it.
a pounding or something. Anyway, go ahead.
Funny how that works.
If you remember the reasons I gave, do you think they fall under willful ignorance or being like an evil slanderer?
I honestly don't know. Oh, it's our place. I'm sorry. It's actually not you guys. It's us. It's upstairs. Sorry about that. I don't know what your motivations are. To be blunt, I think you're operating from an ideological perspective, and that my guess is to think that you're actually sincere and don't believe that we've invited people on the left. And I've
Oh my
made a
goodness,
genuine,
he's still
sincere effort
going
to be on
on about
platforms.
this.
And I'm not buying, Doug, the idea
He's
that
still oh my god.
I'm not buying the idea that the political platform isn't the platform isn't big enough, because if that were the case, why would the right have me on as well?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to, in desperation, I'm trying to help the left here, or the progressives, with why
Doug,
they
we
won't
really don't
engage.
need, we really don't
And
need.
I-
so
but
again,
again-
this is
I've
not
been
just.
trying to agree with Peter this whole time, but I can't talk.
What was
Go
a
ahead.
reason? Did
Well,
I say,
let's let Deepak have his say.
No, it's Nathan's show. He can talk instead of me.
did
No,
I say
we want to hear what you have to say. Go say what you want to say. You're a member
I'm
of
not
the
going to
panel.
talk over Nathan on his own stream. Sorry.
Exactly.
Nathan, why don't we let Deepak say something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, first, I'm Deepak's nemesis, clearly. Anyway, so I think Doug and Peter, you're largely right about a lot of this about unwillingness to engage. One of the things I was going to tell you, Doug, when you first hopped in, you were talking about triggering people, about like wokies being upset about being triggered. I have zero sympathy for that. I think that's partly because I grew up religious in a very, very liberal area, and I was subject to like all of the ridicule and criticism that I got for that. And I, like, it sucks. It's not fun, but that's just how things are. And if we can have that kind of discourse about things that people find sacred, I don't think that we should go and put limits or make taboo topics that other people find uncomfortable just because it's on the left rather than being religious. However, I think there's a few other considerations here. One of them, Peter, is something that you just said, that you just don't want to engage anymore. This is the experience of a lot of people who are outside of the orthodox, including on the left, who go and try to engage with mainstream discourse and just run into the same bullshit over and over and over, and they don't want to engage anymore. And so part of the reason is going to be that. So for example, if I were trans, I don't know that I'd be terribly jazzed to talk to someone who I know thinks that my identity is valid, not because I don't have opinions, not because I don't think I can engage. It's just like, I don't want to deal with this voluntarily. I deal with this all of the time during my life already.
Yeah,
just
this was the point. We've engaged over and over and over and over again, and people get sick of running into the same bullshit. But that's the reality we need to wake up to. Is that, I hate to say this, but this is not a problem conversations will solve. I know a lot of people are really motivated by stories of, oh, there was this misguided person and they just needed to have a heart to heart with a person who they didn't understand, and that really opened their eyes to that other person's humanity and they became friends, and if we would all just have these conversations, the world would be a better place. First off, that's rarely how those stories actually go. They're usually a lot more confrontational, a lot more piss and vinegar involved in the situation. And people who are marginalized or just about the business of whatever it is don't have to bother themselves with people who are wasting their time. This reminds me very much of like why most evolutionary biologists don't engage with creationists. They've heard it before. They really have. They've decided it's a waste of their time. Now, I don't always agree with that decision, but I certainly understand why they're making it. And I was just super happy when Deepak's nemesis spoke to this, because it's the elephant in the room the whole time. Doug, Peter, people know you're bullshit. They don't want to deal with it. Let's all move on.
The last thing, I thought for a while that the left right now has kind of like picked up the cooties virus that the Republicans had about communism for a really long time, where there's just some certain like taboo topics or these like anathema things that if you're pegged with that, now you have to go and be like thrown out of the circle wagons. If you were a communist, you got put for trial. If you lost your job,
exactly, Stephanie.
Now, if you're racist, it's the same thing. It's these same type of behaviors. This isn't new. It's not anything we haven't seen before. It's just a different group of people doing it now. And I find it incredibly frustrating because I think these are important topics that need to have engagement, and that needs to come from both directions.
All right, boom, pause tape. Now this is the tagline of the left that I want to address. This part right here.
You lost your job, blacklisted. Now it's if you're racist, it's the same thing. It's these same type of behaviors. This isn't new. It's not anything we haven't seen before. It's just a different group of people doing it now. And I find it incredibly frustrating because I think these are important topics that need to have engagement, and that needs to come from both directions.
All right. So first off, boo-hoo consequences. Look, if you're a bigot, there needs to be consequences. There could be lots of consequences. You're a fucking embarrassment to humanity. So could there be consequences on your job? Potentially. Legal consequences, depending on what you do. Lost relationships? Yep. Lost business partnerships? You betcha. Lost standing in the community? Abso-fucking-lutely. But the other thing that really bothers me is this idea that these issues are so important. Therefore, we must engage. And that engagement has to come from both sides. It's a form of, it's just another version of both sidesism, both sidesing the issues, whatever. Here's what people miss. Where's the pressure on the other side? It's 2023. I say that because if you're seeing this in a time capsule, the when matters. When matters. What's in the headlines? What's in the news? What are the political candidates of the day saying? Where's the meta of the social conversation right now? And you're sitting on this anti-trans bullshit? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And the time for talk is over. What, you haven't heard about what's going on with trans people? You haven't heard that things are particularly tough for them right now? You haven't had the opportunity to think about how cruel it is to deny medical care to a child? Or how just fucking rude it is to be misgendered? Are you fucking serious? Right? Nobody ever says that. It's always to the marginalized people, to their advocates, their loved ones, their friends and family. No, you keep engaging. You set aside their bigotry and you talk to them, because engaging on this issue is so important. But again, look at what he said when it came to talking about plagiarism with the Harvard president. Remember I said put a pin in that. Well, we really shouldn't talk about this unless you guys have had time to do your homework. We really shouldn't talk about this unless you've done your research. We really shouldn't talk about this unless we've looked into it. Why is he so pissed at Nate? How dare you accuse me of not sincerely wanting to engage with the left? Where's your evidence? You're going to say something so insulting, you really ought to have your evidence. But again, where's putting their feet to the fire and saying, if you're going to waste people's fucking time talking about these issues because you refuse to get with the goddamn program, when are you going to hold them accountable for you've had the conversation? Doug is a perfect example. Like, Doug, I remember when Doug started his bullshit racist dog whistling around the time of the midterm election. A bunch of people came on his stream and they were like, yo, Doug, that was some racist shit. You really shouldn't have done that. That was pretty fucked up. Then I was trying to back them up. I got my black ass on there like, yo, Doug, yo, man, people's trying to tell you, man, like, you can't do shit like that, Doug. In one ear, out the other. Why? Because it's all a game to Doug. He thought it was fucking funny. A little while later, he sits down, has like a 2 or 3 hour conversation with Lena about trans issues and climate change. In one ear, out the other, makes a video, throwing her under the bus and talking all sorts of bullshit about trans people and climate change. Later on, has an hours-long conversation with Stephanie, same shit. Again, when are they going to be responsible if engaging on these issues are so important? When are they going to be responsible for engaging genuinely, doing their fucking homework, and changing they shit up? Because I got to be honest with you, that's all that fucking matters. If they don't change, if they don't stop being Nazis, if they don't stop supporting harmful shit, I don't give a fuck about the conversation. Do y'all really think conversation is an end into itself? No, conversation is a means to a fucking end. Conversation is how we make decisions together. I want pizza, you want Chinese, Third person over there wants Mexican. How are we going to figure out what we order for dinner tonight? We're going to have a conversation to figure that shit out. At the end of that conversation, we need to figure that shit out because I'm hungry. We don't have conversations just to sit around making animal noises. So if the conversation is that important, tell these motherfuckers to start acting like it.
I'm agreeing a lot with my nemesis for some reason. And I think that last part I completely agree with. But also, I mean, just to be clear, on Peter's, like Peter is not
Cameron
like
Bennett in the house.
Random people who identify as trans and saying, hey, let's have a discussion, right? What do they call it? Sea lion.
Because he's full of shit,
like,
Cameron.
He's trying to engage with people who claim to be people who want to communicate, right, about these issues, right? So then it's fair game to say, if you're going to communicate, right, then you should engage with like the opposite side.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think people who say that and refuse to, or do, but are really like dishonest about it, I think they're hypocrites. I don't respect them terribly much.
So, I'm looking at the private
and
chat.
I think that was low-key shade at Peter. It was a little bit too low-key for my liking, but literally, like, that's the problem. That's what we're dealing with Peter. People who act like the conversation is so important and everybody should engage and they need the other side engage, but in reality, they don't engage with the conversation seriously. They don't take it seriously. And this is a game to them. And that's the problem with people like Doug. See, and this is what I mean about the game. And I want to say this because remember I said that we're going to talk about perspectives. I'm going to try to not be judgmental. We're going to really think about why my perspective differs from other people. When you deal with people like Doug and Peter, they're cruel. And playing this cruel fucking game is just that to them. This is how they get their jollies off. This is how they fill their time. This makes them smile. And they're sort of on mission in that sense. We get sucked into it because we find debunking these people, exposing these people, we find that shit entertaining. That's part of the community we're in. That's part of how we fill our time. That's part of the, this is what I listen to because a lot of people listen to podcasts to get through the day at work, right? And that's how I heard this shit. I was listening to this shit while I was trying to get through the day at work, right? So this is sort of a genre that appeals to us. But for a lot of us, we're still about that life. We still are passionate about these issues or affected directly by these issues. We're trying to organize around these issues. We're desperate to see change around these issues. So we can talk about the issues, we can have the conversations, we can have the debates, but we're going to tell you when the rubber meets the road, it's go time. But a lot of other people are not necessarily there. And because they're not necessarily there, it's like they're with us. They're quote unquote on side when it comes to what they say, which stances they take, which side they're on, right? Like I said, they're on side in that regard. But to them, it's just the entertainment. It's just something to listen to, just something to chit chat about, just a debate to win or lose, score points on, do good for the YouTubes and all of that. And then they get sucked into it because they're confident that they know how to win the game. They know how to play the street epistemology game. You're not going to beat them with the street epistemology game. They know how to debate. They know the philosophy. They know the science. They got the evidence. They got all that. So they're confident. Like, oh, we can go in here. We can engage. We can have some fun and still come out of this looking like, we're doing what we have to do to be part of the solutions in these issues and not part of the problem. But that's where we get played, because the other side is on mission, and they use that willingness to engage. They use that willingness to play along, to move the goalpost, to move the needle, to push their agenda. And then we just think, had that conversation, made them look stupid, we dust it off and go to bed. But actually, they're making gains. So I think part of what has to happen is we need more representation. We need to listen more to the marginalized voices in our community. We need to understand the seriousness of these issues. And if we're going to continue to engage, we've got to do better to meet the actual needs of the people affected by the issues. That means calling these people out. It means letting these people know they're bigots, calling them Nazis, and being willing to be direct and be uncomfortable, or else you're just enabling them and you need to get out the game. But again, like, we're just right now, we're just listening and trying to bring out the differences in perspective. I hope this is making sense to y'all.
Out here, and I'd like to answer. So Nathan, is this your channel, right?
Yeah, but the private chat is Brenda that's commenting.
No, the regular chat, the comments. The regular,
Oh,
I'd like to
which
address some of these comments, if that's okay.
Yeah, just let me know which, and I can pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, so I'm just gone back. I think some of these are really good comments. Of course, there are some invectives and personal attacks, but
yeah, Steph is own Doug, but yeah, this is a particularly powerful example. Motherfucker asked me for a study citation. I provided it. One, he'd already cited and misrepresented his conclusions in that stream. He agrees to all that and then denied it all happened. I documented that. I watched that. It was on tape. Oh, Steph put the link in chat, y'all.
let's see. This is a good one from Mrs. Apostate. The
In
left
case
is
you
still winning the culture
don't
war.
know how
So why
obviously
need they
transphobic this
engage?
man is.
Okay, so there's something to that. I'll grant that there's something to that. So, for example, in presidential debates, the people who have did we lose Nathan?
No, I'm
No,
still
no.
here. I just moved around.
Okay, so in presidential debates, as a rule, the people who are winning want the fewest debates or no debates, and the people who are losing want the most to try to rank. So there's something there, but that's not what I'm talking about. A Muggs game is the next comment. The right has him on because they love what he has to say. Yeah, that's a lot of that is true. They love my criticisms
These
of
chat comments are good.
identitarianism, which they themselves have become identitarians. And I just have been releasing interviews in which, and they'll come out over the next few days, I'm assuming, certainly the next few weeks, in which I've criticized the anti-woke movement for being an echo chamber and a kind of Christian nationalism that I see emerging over and over again.
He criticized the left for this is again like this is where this guy can go fuck himself, right? He's gonna tell us the left is an echo chamber and is a form of Christian nationalism that needs to be opposed. You can't take people like this seriously. You can't take dudes like this seriously. This dude's a clown. I'm glad to see that people in the chat see right
And
through
so
it.
it will be interesting if I pursued that line of inquiry and that line of attack in the anti-woke space to see. I still don't think that the left would have me on, but I thought that that was a good comment from a
The
Muggs
good thing is
game.
I don't really think anybody's buying this.
Every single one of them.
I think
is proof of
Doug's
the
trying to
horseshoe
help him
theory.
sell
don't
it, but I don't think
that's
anybody's
correct.
buying it.
Doug is a sad case. I certainly don't think that is correct.
Doug is a sad case. Get it, Charles B.
Doug doesn't
who
have
are-
Felix.
What's your argument? People who agree with me and want to perpetuate a set of beliefs want to talk to me more. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the case, right? And
So
I think that
utterly
if
full
we
of
want to
shit,
get over
Steph.
tribalism, we
Yeah.
have to start having conversations with people we disagree with. And I know, Doug, you're an atheist and you have Christians on your show.
Yeah.
And I know
If someone comes on my show and agrees with me, I tend to boot him.
Yeah, and I know, years ago I had a conversation with a Christian Phil Fisher, the guy who did VeggieTales. He's become a friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a while, or that video I just did with Paul Vanderklay, which is one of my favorites. I really enjoyed that conversation and enjoy Paul. But that's the idea. From what's your argument? People who agree with me and want to perpetuate a set of beliefs want to talk to me more. Well, we've got to get beyond that, right? That's the kind of tribalism that we need to get beyond.
But here's a question for you: like, how does your experience compare with, say, the equivalent person on the left? Right? Maybe they want to engage more with people. Like, are they facing similar, like,
No,
blockades or?
I don't think so. I mean, again, so there's an academic infrastructure for this. There's non-consensual co-platforming. Like, you don't even want your article that argues for something that you believe on it. Shermer was telling me he wanted to debate. Michael Shermer is a very close friend of mine. Who's that guy who's super? Frank Turek, and this was a few years ago. And Shermer's pro-gay marriage, and Frank Turek is obviously against gay marriage. And they shouted him down. It was quite a hubbubaloo, but they didn't even want the conversation taking place. So it's a kind of the idea that embedded in discourse itself is a kind of violence. Speech acts are a kind of violence. So there's an infrastructure of there's a kind of a moral virtue, and privilege preserving epistemic pushback would be another thing. The master's tools cannot dissemble the master's house would be another thing. You don't use reason, discourse, etc. to undermine oppression. You have to use new tools like blowing bullhorns when people are trying to speak. So there's an infrastructure.
What did he just tell? Did he not just tell on himself, y'all? You don't use the master's tools to destruct the master's house. You don't use reason and discourse and logic and formal academic university debates to tear down a system of oppression that those fucking very same institutions represent. They know it. They know this, and they will say this shit right in front of us. We won't recognize what they recognize. This is what happened on January 6th. What would they have expected if Donald Trump won the election? They would expected Joe Biden to make a lawful concession speech before his monkey ass went to bed that night. Donald Trump loses. Maybe storming the Capitol is a reasonable decision. The right wing understands that this game is about power. And for better or worse, power is typically taken by force. The left thinks we can dismantle institutions of oppression by speaking softly to them. We need a reality check.
Structure in place.
No, but you're saying that, okay, you're saying that people like Michael Shermer would have no problem if he wanted to engage with like people on his right, or on the right, like finding debates, finding platforms.
Yeah, I mean, so there are two things. So as I'm sure Doug can attest, if I put out a tweet tomorrow, and we could test this very quickly. I don't know, LA is a big city, or if I put on a tweet online or whatever it is, whatever platform we use, and said, I want to debate Christians about whatever anti-rights claims, whatever it is. I don't have to tell you that you'd have 1,000 people within an hour who would come and want to debate you. I mean, I could do that. That's not an issue. The problem is that people who traffic in very certain sets of ideas don't value discourse and dialogue, perhaps from that one passage in Peter, 1 Peter 3:15, that Christians do. And so there's a different kind of infrastructure there, a value infrastructure in place for who will and who will not have a conversation.
Peter,
this is just such
I
gaslighting
kind of agree with
too. It's just such gaslighting. By the way, people on the left and progressive people, they actually tend to care more about dialogue. I'll tell you how you know. they have the dialogue, they take in the new information, they change. Yeah, and then you got to talk to them about some other shit. That's how dialogue should work. I have had times myself where I have had to pull a friend aside and say, "Hey, you got more experience than me with this or that. I need some language. I need some help. I need some help talking about this or that issue." They're like, "Oh, you got to think about this. You got to think about that. You got to put it to them like this." Oh shit, great, cool. Next time they see me, we talk about something different. We talk about something different, right? Think about the fact that, like I said, I didn't even see the original conversation. A lot of y'all didn't even see the original conversation. But as soon as they said, "Oh, we were having the conversation about surgeries," and you winced, right? We literally were just like, "Oh yeah, they were having a debate about trans. Somebody, you know," and then he winced because they were talking about surgeries for fucking kids. We didn't even have to watch it. We didn't even have to see it to know that that's exactly what happened. And people that did see it confirmed it in the chat. That's how predictable these people are. Because they don't value the conversation, which is why they want to have it over and over and over and over and over again.
What you just said, but I've for years have been begging certain apologists to come on my show, and they don't do
certain
it.
ones won't, but like Joel Osteen won't, because he knows where his bread is.
Well, not that big. I'm talking like people like Sean McDowell. He's sort of like a mid-tier apologist. Yeah, he has, I think, everything to lose and nothing to gain by talking to me, so he avoids me.
Right, and I understand that, and that's the calculus when the other person said above, you know, who it depends if they're winning the culture war. So why would they want to talk?
Yeah.
So I'm not unsympathetic. Peter has a good camera. Don't thank me. That's Reed.
So one
Again,
thing too that I think it very much depends on which social circles you inhabit. We can talk about the national climate, and that is very left-leaning within like the social media space right now. That's absolutely true. I lived in Utah for a while. If you want to go and exhibit any, you know, not Republican, traditional, religious, right-wing values there, it's not going to be fun for you. It's not the same thing as like Twitter blowing up because someone said something that someone decided was problematic. But depending on where you are, the people around you, and sometimes the people who matter most to you, like your family, can go and be really, really awful to you for holding left-leaning views. I've been a recipient of this. So I think if we're looking at the nation as a whole, you're more correct there. But I think that what people care about more are their intimate social circles. And there are lots and lots of people who might be left-leaning in very right-leaning areas, or vice versa.
Okay,
so,
and this
again,
this is part of what we're gonna chalk up today. I don't know how long this generosity sale is gonna last, but today we're gonna chalk this up to the perspective thing, and we have to stop the equivocation. I understand that a lot of people might have this experience. Well, you know what? I decided that I was going to be LGBTQ accepting. And in my right-leaning family, where people were not LGBTQ accepting, they started giving me a really hard time for it. So I know what it's like to be given a hard time for having different beliefs. Oh, I remember I came home, I decided I was going to date this black girl. And oh man, my family gave me all sorts of hell for dating a black girl. So I know what it's like to be persecuted for who you love. That may well be true, but we've got to understand the difference. And yes, it does come down to the details. Again, you can't sit with us because you're black. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. That's racist. You can't sit with us because you don't like black people. them's the breaks. You can't let somebody take your sense of right and wrong, your sense of justice, your sense of the appropriate response and consequences when people break your sense of justice, just because you feel this compulsion to play everything that looks the same way. And that's where a lot of us, you know, we lose our ability to act effectively. Just it's not the same thing. It is literally not the same thing. And that's the thing. We have to care more about marginalized people than we do about the bigots. Yeah. If I got you know, if you are in your if you're in a situation and you know there's a lot of men around, there's no young women, and for whatever reason there's, you know, just one or two young ladies and they're off by themselves, yeah, you want to go off and you want to make sure that they feel welcome, that they don't feel like they're being left out because they're different. Same thing if you've got somebody new in town or whatever, y'all know, like just how to treat people right? At the same time, if nobody wants to sit with you because you're mean to people, if no one supports to sit with you because, I hate to say this, but because you're a Donald Trump supporter and you support a fascist, you should maybe consider not supporting a fascist anymore.
I don't know that this is like a unique behavior, and I don't know that it is a universal behavior.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to keep going through these comments because I think some of these are.
And I gotta go. So thank you for having me on. Love you, Nathan.
See you, Justin. Bye.
Like Rationality Rules is a great case study. Like Peter just put out a video basically begging him, taunting him to talk to him by saying, hey, you said you would and now you're not. Like, Nathan, what do you think is going through Rationality Rules' head right now?
Well, we can see, can't we?
Or has he said yes?
No. It's even more different than that. So this is perhaps one such case, right, where Stephen says, I received an open invitation. Here's my response. And I think he said something about that the comments keep disappearing. It seems that my comment isn't showing on Peter's video. Can people please
take his comments off of my video?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying like this is just an example of like how things can happen, right? And people end up there's like a narrative on what sort of like one side, as it were, that the other side isn't listening to them and doesn't want to have the debate.
Dude, I've emailed him. We've emailed him. I've contacted him on Twitter DMs. Nothing. Crickets. But I don't want to get into rationality.
But that's what I'm saying though, because he's saying, no, I have replied to those, and so this is him like making a public statement. No, I genuinely do. So whatever's going wrong, it doesn't have to be that you're deleting them, right? They can be going to your spam folder, they can be being deleted by some automated algorithm thing, whatever. But then what's
like this is a problem because who do they want to pull in from the left? Stephen Woodford? And let me guess, he's going to represent the what? Pro-trans leftist position. Yeah, let me see if I could get him a trans pass from my trans homies for the day. Yeah, not gonna happen. And that's the problem when I mean these people aren't fucking listening. They're not even taking it seriously. Because I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not even trying to throw shade at Stephen Woodford, but my man's has gotten literally started controversy over doing transphobic shit. Try again.
Is that there's a story about what's going on that's being formed that isn't what's actually going on.
Okay.
Which is, they're posturing.
Okay.
They don't really want to talk, and that's the biases.
I'll give you what you're looking for. I'll give you exactly what you're looking for. If that happened once,
have to be like that. Come on. Are you
if that happened once, I would agree with you. But it happens over and over and over again. It happens repeatedly. But I want to go down these comments if that's okay. because I think some of these are really, really worth talking about. So from Brenda.
Well, do you want me to
Craig.
give you what you're looking for, Peter? You can't treat me like that and then ask me to do things for you, like click on the comments and stuff. And this is exactly.
Well, I'm just trying to do it for your audience. We don't have to do those comments at all. But I was being in good faith. I'm talking in good faith. I'm actually giving what we're looking for. That okay, everything got lost. The algorithm pushed it. Great. That only explains one instance. It doesn't explain the 5,000 other instances. Huh?
You are being rude. You are attributing like bad psychological motives to me rather than just engaging with what I was saying like a person.
Because I'm not sure you're being sincere.
Well, shouldn't you assume I am and then act on that basis?
It depends.
Like, what do you think the history is
And
between
again,
you two?
there it is again. There it is again. We fall into the trap of buying into civility politics. Well, shouldn't you assume I'm being of good faith? Yeah, I mean, maybe most times, but I know one thing is when you're talking to Peter and you're talking to Doug, you shouldn't go assuming those assholes are acting in good faith because they've both got track records to prove that they're not. But Peter says straight up, as they often do, because they understand what it's about. Well, it depends. I'm not sure. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. They know. He said multiple times he doesn't think they're acting in good faith, but they won't say that to him. It's crazy.
Peter, Nathan, like what's causing this animosity, do you think? Like why
My
the distrust?
genuine opinion is that there's an ego injury.
Gang, I hate to say this. The right may be full of Christian nationalists, but it's the left that thinks you win a war by loving your enemies. I'm saying though,
and
we gotta stop this
that's
shit.
causing a lot of these issues. That is what it genuinely.
Did this happen in the UK when you guys were talking privately?
Your
or-
ego or my ego? Whose ego?
I think it's your ego.
Nathan, I don't mean to be harsh with you, but I truly never think about you.
Did he
literally one
really?
iota.
You two punk?
Like,
I don't know anything about
I'm
this.
sure
man.
you're a
That's
very nice
hilarious.
person. I'm sure you're a very nice person. When I saw you, the first thing I said is I'd love to roll with you and I'd love to do jujitsu with you, and you look like you're in super good shape.
Yeah, y'all heard that. Y'all heard that. The first thing I saw was you're super good. I'd love to roll with you. It just got a little awkward. Got a little weird. Let's
I
stay on
harbor
topic.
no animus
Peter.
against you.
Let's
I
stay
just
on
don't
topic.
think you're being sincere when you tell me that I have not repeatedly reached out to people on the left to be on your show and tried to get people on the left on
He's back to
my
this
side.
thing
It's just
about
it's
the
so
left.
monstrously false.
So Peter,
That it has to be insincere.
This is what's frustrating, right? About it, because I've unpacked that claim, and now at this point, I don't think you can repeat back to me the reasons I gave you. I think they've gone in one ear and out the other, and that's the problem.
But to be fair, Nathan, the way you've unpacked it is quite complicated. Because let me try to unpack it. What you said as a third party listening in, you said, okay, you might be reaching out, you might be getting emails in, but you have cultivated a culture within your platform that leads people who lean progressive to not want to engage with you, and instead you've cultivated this atmosphere where you will only get the right wing leaners.
He's acting like it's so complicated.
That is, but that's not the relevant point.
Was that really hard, Doug?
Claim about emailing
Did
people,
that hurt your big
right?
Doug brain?
And so, the question is, do I believe Peter has not sent emails to people who disagree with him?
Digital Gnosis.
And that's the
it's
claim
on
that
it's on Nate's channel, Steph. Digital Gnosis.
Repeatedly being made angrily.
Okay, do you believe that Peter has reached out to people, progressives, to have conversations? Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay, yes, he said, Peter. He believes you.
Okay, how many? Like once or twice, or is it
I'm
closer
not
to
sure.
1 time, 100 times, or 1,000 times?
Probably closer to 100, in my opinion. That could be wrong.
Okay, Peter, is that correct, or is it closer to
No.
1,000?
It's closer to like 10,000 because if you dial it back enough to
Lying.
like 2018, if you
Lying.
do it recently, it's
Exaggerated.
closer to 100. But
Okay.
now I'm done. I'm just done. I'm
Yeah.
over it. I'm over it.
So on this main
Maybe
issue, you
he's a
guys are not
right-wing
even
guy. I'm done
disagreeing,
with it.
other than to degree. So is there any problems left?
Well,
Yeah, pointing out an entirely separate concern, right? That like it's not about how many times the reach out has happened, 10,000 or 100. As long as it's more than
common
like, say, 5,
feedback
right?
stuff.
I don't think it makes much difference. The point is like
Okay.
Nathan's point, like a certain kind of platform that Peter has created that he thinks is not the kind that
All right.
you know.
Hey guys, I gotta go. Our guest is here, but Nathan, Reed texted this. Reed put this in, and you tell me what you think about this. And everybody, I'd love to hear what you think about this. So Reed texted, should we make public video invitation for all progressives going forward? I'm happy to do that, but I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. I'm going to make public invitations, and people are going to say to me, they reached out to you, you didn't respond to their emails. There is literally nothing that I can do.
But this has happened though with Rationality Rules. Definitely wants to talk to you, and something's just going wrong there. Either it's email filters, it's something like that. So it doesn't, we can't always put it down to malevolent intent.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Would it satisfy you to your satisfaction if every time I invite, and I'm not saying I'm going to do this, I'm just asking as a criterion. Every time we invited somebody on the show from the left, we made it public on Twitter.
I want y'all to hear what Doug says.
And put it out there.
When this is over, it's almost over.
I'm actually not going to look at those comments anymore. They're distracting to me. And then you would need some kind of a mechanism to verify that we reached out to those people, right? Because you could always say, well, Bogosian just pretended to give the invite, but he wasn't really giving the invite, and they wanted to be on his show, but the algorithm made the emails. So, like, what would satisfy you after that level? After we put it out publicly?
No, I think that would satisfy me, but I'd want it to be done in a particular type of way as well. Like, I think doing almost like there's a certain way of doing a kind of clickbaity video, like, oh, we're gonna destroy each other or whatever. If you were just like, look, you're someone I'd like
I want a carbon copy of you taking a fucking sex and gender biology course at a fucking university. I want a fucking carbon copy of you fucking reading the fucking Olympic Committee report on trans people in sports. I want to fucking, like, do you guys see the literally when it comes to defending his reputation for having conversations with people who disagree with him, like literally the lowest of the low bars. He wants evidence. He's like, I'll send you a carbon copy, have your people call my people, I'll show you the fucking evidence. But again, do they act this way when it comes to the actual issues that they want the left to engage on? No, not at all.
I'd
be like, yeah, that's an earnest attempt to reach out.
Okay, how about this?
Hey,
and I'm
Purple.
only expediting this because our guest is here. How about you write the tweet? You write the tweet. And again, I'm not saying I'm doing this.
Yeah,
I will certainly consider this. You write the tweet. You find the guests. I will put them out, and I want to preempt your objection that I don't. That they've reached out to me and then I haven't made any. So why don't you put your email address there?
Hey, Peter's going to hire Nathan. Put Nathan on the payroll.
You put out the tweet. Hey, some Owen Jones, whoever it is, we would like to have a conversation with you. And you coordinate the schedule. Why don't you do that? So you're the one. Okay, if we did that and you could get me people on the left to have conversation, I would be thrilled. You would be doing me a huge favor. You would be satisfying your own criteria. It would be great. Would that then satisfy you if nobody responded?
It would definitely, move the dial on my belief.
Okay, so why don't we do that?
I think that would be a useful thing. There's still an issue though. Like, I don't want to be screwing anyone over by saying, look, honestly, Peter's interested in having a good conversation. They come on, and then all of a sudden there's all these kind of like right-wing they can't say what a woman is, so they're an idiot, like that kind of thing. I wouldn't want that. That would then be a very bad outcome for me.
Notice how the right's synonymous.
See, this is what I don't get, Nathan, about you. Like,
I don't
think Peter would do that. But even if he were, why is that bad? So let's say,
why is that bad?
Because I've done it. I've had good conversations with people and say, by the way, I don't think trans women are real women. Full stop.
So that's a
Now,
different.
we don't have to be mad at each other.
Did y'all hear that? I know there's some Pine Creek fans out there that this is fucking news to.
Because I've done it. I've had good conversations with people and say, by the way, I don't think trans women are real women. Full stop.
So that's a
Now,
different.
we don't have to be mad at each other. We can still have a great conversation.
Okay, now look, gang. Look, if your skin is not crawling, there's a problem with you. We should not be comfortable in a room with these Nazis. And again, right now, and please go fuck yourself. Let me just say this. Stephanie brought up the phrase tip of the spear, because right now trans people are at the tip of the spear. Some people have criticized Steph's use of that phrase. Y'all could all go fuck yourselves. Steph is out here dropping fucking lessons on what tip of the spear means because she's at the tip of the fucking spear every goddamn day. Look, it's 2023. I just don't know what else to tell you. I just don't know what else to tell you. There are presidential candidates promising to end trans people as their day one issue. Trans people are being denied any right you can think of. Literally every day there's some new sport that trans women can't play that you didn't even know there was a women's division in. I just don't know what's wrong with people to be this kind of cruel right now. But we should see it for the transphobia that it is. Like I said, Doug and Peter have a whole other list of bigotries that they subscribe to. And just understand that that's who he is. And if you continue to associate with somebody like that, it's very questionable. It's very questionable. I don't, I know Tuck said, I'm okay with it. He said he's okay with Doug's transphobia as long as it doesn't rub off on him. Guess what, Tux? Too fucking late. This shit rubs off on you. When you sit down and you want, this is who you go to lunch with, this is who you play poker with, this is who you go to bowling night with. You hanging with this transphobe. It looks bad. It looks like you're either a transphobe yourself or you don't care enough to draw a line in the sand. But you heard what he said. You heard what he said.
That's a different claim from trying to fish for like gotchas in order to provide these gotchas to like an audience who has.
I fish for gotchas all the time, and I still have great conversations. I say, I'm going to lay a trap. Please walk into it.
Yeah, but I criticize you on this basis, don't I? Like, I've accused you of audience capture on the Pine Creek Politics channel. I've said that I think your views have
doesn't work.
I know it doesn't change your mind.
Okay, look, I got to go. There's a guest. I got to change my views. I got to go. I have a guest waiting.
I'll just say this, Steph. I think real men don't go after the most vulnerable women in the world right now.
So listen. So if the claim is, I'll let you write the tweet, you put your email address, you manage everybody, and you still don't want to do it because you think they're walking into gotchas.
I said I will, but I'm saying there's an element of trust on my part if I do that you won't be setting people up for gotchas, right? I said I'm willing to do that.
But then you're basically saying that these people that Peter's inviting are so fragile and children, like they can't handle themselves.
No, I'm saying part of my persuading them would be me like they would say, no, Peter's not an honest person to talk to, and I'd say, no, seriously, I'm vouching for him. He wants to have these genuine conversations. If they then go, what do you mean? Oh, that's like a perfectly
an honest person to talk to. Yeah, see you, Peter.
I've got to go. I've got to go. Nathan, I just want to close and say, I'm going to operate under the assumption that you're sincere, and I'm telling you exactly what I told you is the truth. And if you don't trust me, that's fine. I know you and Reed are buddies. You can ask him. All right, I got to jet.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, but no, but what I was saying, like when I said, oh, it's because, like,
all right, here we go.
You and I see the world differently in terms of, like, what does an honest conversation look like? That's so subjective.
So imagine this, Doug. Imagine like I was talking to Cameron Bertuzzi, and he and I in the conversation, it turned out I could convince him to have you on his channel, right? And I was like, look, Doug, you can have this conversation. I mean, maybe just because your personality, you'd end up saying no. But I was like, but look, there's just this one thing where you have to not ask poof or drown question, right? But you can ask anything else you want or something like that. And then you went on and asked the poof or drown. It's kind of like, oh, Nathan screwed me over.
Okay.
Right? Like, and that's the point I'm making. I'm like, I'm happy to do this, but then what I'm doing is I'm trusting
that. I can agree with. If the interviewer and the interviewee have a sort of like a contract, what will be asked, what will not be, that I'm fine with that. But
that's the only point I'm making, though. I'm saying, so if you want me to do this for you, part of my persuading people is going to be reassuring them that this is like they'll be accurately represented and stuff. But then I have to have some kind of like ability to say I don't think they were accurately represented.
And a lot of people on the left are dumb enough to do this shit. A lot of y'all are dumb enough to say, well, he promised me he was gonna be an honest interlocutor with you. What do you mean he ambushed you with transphobic bullshit? I had no idea he was gonna do that. Like, I mean, you can't. He's clear. Like, no.
The space to be asked neutral questions. Like I can't just be, I can't persuade people. And I think it's really reasonable.
Like, even if Peter, and I don't think he would do that, but even if he were to do that, give them the space to answer the question, make them look horrible, full of gotchas, that's only to the progressives' benefit.
No, I disagree.
And again, Pine Creek just loves antisocial behavior. He just this is more of his, if you survive it, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Again, I know that's brilliant. You never heard that? Well, that's Pine Creek's fucking words of wisdom.
Yeah, why do you say I don't understand why you
because you're not going to convince the right, you're not going to convince the left in so many cases.
The point of the conversation.
No, the point is the people on the fence. The people on the fence are the ones going to be the most impacted by the conversation. And so if Peter looks like a dick, it's going to benefit the other side.
You're making a point.
You're assuming that everyone is as discerning as you, and you can catch, like, you can just see someone getting gotcha'd or like trapped or like,
well, okay, if they can't see that, then they're too stupid to even follow the conversation.
That's not true. I mean,
oh my goodness.
That's the world we live in.
Like, there are people who are smart enough to manipulate conversations so that like reasonable, like not, like average intelligence people are just going to get fooled. Like,
so you're saying that most people are so stupid, we got to have certain rules in place.
If you want to frame it that way,
I'm just saying it's the way it is. I don't know, like, people are stupid. This is why we have the kind of political discourse that we do in general, right? Like,
that's why Trump's bullshitting is so effective, because the emotional stuff resonates with people. But I think that if you actually model reasonable middle ground discussion between interlocutors, right, where they are kind of like, they're not strawmanning each other, they're able to characterize each other. I think that people are like,
and you don't trust Peter to do that.
No, I mean, you saw him in that conversation just then. He could.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point. Can I just say I have to?
Well, but you and Nathan are. There's a history between you two.
Not just that. It's as soon as someone sincerely disagrees with him, that switch flicks, because that's what happened with me when as soon as I said I'm woke. Oh, you're woke. It's that as long as people are signed up to, like, there's disagreement on certain things, but as long as someone's not genuinely threatening to his views.
Yeah, I have to hop off. Like, let me just make this point. Basically the same point, right? Like, look, Doug, we've known each other for like 2-3 years, right? And like, we disagree about so much, but I would never say the same thing. And I have never said the same thing about you, right? Like, I feel like in this conversation, we could see clearly the difference between like how you approached it and Peter, right? You were listening to Nathan, you were able to repeat what he was saying. And at times you tried to interject and bring Peter to like the point where he understood what he was saying. And sometimes, right? I don't think I see Peter doing that, right? Which is, I think that's a critical.
You're saying I'm better than Peter.
At this, what can I say? Like, I don't.
But this is my point. Like, I do think, like, this happens to me too. Like with certain people.
But that's what's got to stop. I don't know what it is about this community, but if I just come out and I just can, We love Doug. He'll just come out and tell you he doesn't think trans women are women. And you haven't found the unsubscribe button yet somehow.
There's a history and something happened between you and Peter, Nathan, that I'm not even fully aware of that's causing this animosity, and it probably has nothing to do with what we talked about.
It was sex.
Right, but like,
No,
I mean,
I don't know them.
if you do a
Should be
job,
starting
it's
rumors.
because you're better at it than like, say, most of the population, right? So you got to be better at like putting those things to the side and at the door, right?
Yeah, get you more dead inside.
Yeah, like I said,
more
it's always
dead
something you need
inside.
to do,
Here we
right?
go again.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something. I suspect that might be like a big reason why people on the left just want to get, because they say, oh, who's this guy who's invited me? Let's check out his videos. I'm seeing the way he's engaging with someone like Nathan.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm going to get railroaded in the same way, right?
I don't know if what I saw, Doug, right? And feel free to say that this is incorrect, but was that Peter repeatedly kept going back on the same narrative that he's telling himself about, they don't want to talk to me, I don't want to care anymore. And there's inconsistencies there, right? Because he's saying like, oh, well, I don't want to talk to them.
See it, Deepak.
But they should want to talk to me, like they can't have the same attitude or whatever. But the way he kept doing it bypassed me telling him, no, that is not what I believe. And then he'd be like, so you're either, you're either stupid or you're an evil person. I'm like, oh, so which of those is it? Am I stupid? Well, I don't know about you, but you're either stupid or an evil. And it's all emotional, kind of like bypassing of reason,
Yeah, and this is the problem with humans.
And he literally wanted us to do this dumb shit where he's like, I've tried to engage with the left, and now I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And then instead, I want to pass my stuff off on unsuspecting tourists who've never heard of street epistemology, so that because they'll be naive enough to think that I'm neutral, which even they won't. They won't. Again, they're just going to be more about funnel cake and sticky buns and hitting the arcade.
And unfortunately, I'm one of them, where you hear one thing, like, for example, if someone comes onto my show and that person asks me a question and I answer it and they say, I don't believe you. They look in my eyes and say, I don't believe you. The conversation's over at that point, right? Where do you go from there? And that's kind of what happened between you and Peter here. It's like you don't trust each other.
Well, I think he misunderstood what I was saying. It wasn't that I was saying I didn't believe he'd sent emails to certain people. It's that I thought that his perspective of whether the people he sent emails to are like representative of good people he should talk to or whatever. I think he's got like a skewed perspective because of his biases.
Yeah, but that's all subjective, right? Like that's
well, that bit is. But what I wasn't dismissing was when he told me I have sent emails to people that I think are on the left. I was like, yeah, I'm not denying. I think you have sent those emails. And he kept saying, well, you're telling me I haven't. I was like, no, I'm not. Then I don't think he could understand what my perspective was and how it was possible to disagree. And I think if he had, then he'd be exhibiting certain epistemic virtues, right?
But he did better at the end, I thought, like when he asked you, do you believe me when I say, or do you think I've sent
he didn't.
any emails? You said yes, and then do you think it's
but
one?
I had to lead him there, right? I had to say, come on, ask a question.
Yeah. Well, I helped you too. But I think when two people from completely worldviews, like he literally, I'll say the word hate. He hates woke people, and he has basically the same definition I have.
But but this is irrational. This is irrational politics, though. This is why I'm saying he can't be touting. He touts that it's all about rationality and so forth, but actually does not engage in reasonable disagreement.
And listen, and you heard Doug.
Well,
Doug even said himself. He hates woke people, but then demands that they engage with him. No. This is why we've got to see through this bullshit, gang. We're almost done. We're trying to. Doug said something I want y'all to hear before we get.
The question: can you hate an ideology or an idea or a person and still communicate with them in a rational way? And it's very difficult, but I say yes, you can still do it. The question is, can Peter do that?
No, but he talks about doing that a lot, and I think that's the tension that there's a lot of talking about wanting to do that, about how I'm so good at doing that, but whenever I've never seen it actually happen with someone who genuinely disagrees and pushes back. I've only ever seen it happen when it's constructive profile building. So like he refers to Paul van der Klee, right? But what was going on there was Peter was saying, well, yeah, actually, I want to disassociate from atheism now because they're all woke. So yeah, I can see the value in Christianity now. You and me agree, Pastor. I like your right wing view. Like it wasn't challenging of the deeply held views. It was like, where do we agree so we can build our public profiles together as heterodox right wingers?
I think I could find like publicly in one of his videos where he's talked to someone he disagrees with, and the conversation was productive. It wasn't gotcha. I think you would approve.
Maybe you might be right, man. I think maybe
Stephanie, technique is not morality.
Hyperbolic and generalizing too much, but to emphasize a point that I'm making about like what maybe like a probability, right? Like overall, more tends towards this. But there are counterexamples out there.
How can we get Stephen Wolfred?
I could just message him on Facebook. But like I said,
do you have his email?
I've got him on Facebook. I can just message him. But honestly, if I was Peter, just reply with his channel on that comment on Stephen's, on this post Stephen's made, and just say, yeah, let's say I don't know what's gone wrong with emails.
Can you blow that up? Because I've never.
Yeah. Can you read that?
Yeah, okay, leave it there. It seems my comment isn't showing up on Peter's video. If you can, please copy and paste this. Hey, Peter, despite some challenge in keeping up with emails, I've been in touch with your agent, Aaron, for months now. I also contacted Colin on Twitter. I'm concerned about the miscommunication. In any case, I'm eager to have a conversation. Okay, this is great. I'm eager to discuss the philosophy of sex and gender
with you.
Regarding potentially... Okay,
and the biological aspects with Colin. Oh my!
So goodness. Yeah, there's definitely something going awry here.
Yeah, but that was the point I was trying to make, right? But Peter's straight on with no. See, they won't even talk to me. He won't even reply. And so it's like what?
Well, to be fair, this is 1 day ago, so maybe Peter wasn't even aware of this.
He still jumped to that assumption rather than thinking, oh, maybe he's just not had time to. Like it's that.
Yeah, but we all do that, right? We all jump to assumptions, especially with people we don't agree with.
We do, but you wouldn't make that excuse for someone that you didn't agree with.
No, I made that excuse for you and Peter.
Yeah, because you like us both, but
I like everybody. Just not those flag-waving, phony, leftist, granola crunching,
flag-waving, phony,
man bun wearing people.
Yeah,
granola crunching, we should probably go, right?
Well, anyway, I appreciate your moderation attempts, and you're probably stirring the pot as well if you instigated that whole thing.
No. You know me, I don't instigate. But I do think it's a great idea for you guys to somehow start working together, and you become Peter's new Aaron.
I mean, look, like I said, I'm open to it, but
sorry, Aaron.
But I would want to have some like actual ability to say, to regulate or moderate, like if I think that there's like bias.
Well, you could do it once, and then if it works, do it twice. If it works, do it 3 times, and just stop when it fails.
Yeah, that's true. But then the problem is it only has to fail. If it fails once, then I've kind of like violated someone. I've said, look, trust me, it's an honest conversation.
Don't treat people like infants. Like if you're not gonna, people have free will. Like even though I'm a determinist, like if say, look, watch some of Peter's videos, even the ones that are not SE. If you still want to do this, do it. Then there's no responsibility on you.
Well, I think there is some responsibility on me because that's what the role is, right? The role is the persuader of people who.
Okay, but the vast majority is on the person who says yes or no, right?
I mean, there's some responsibility on them as well. I don't know exactly how I'd pass it up. Maybe even 50-50. Like,
and if it fails, if you try and it fails, I personally will find a left-leaning progressive to give you a hug and console you.
But a hug doesn't outweigh, like thousands of these desperate incels. Away in the comment.
Okay, I haven't eaten today, so I got to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
see ya.
Bye.
I don't know where it was, but I think maybe it was the last time he came or whatever. He was basically saying that the left is afraid to have conversations, and that was kind of the point I was trying to end on. But that's that is the narrative Peter was having, and that's the narrative Doug buys into. What a lot of these assholes do. Steph, do you want to come on real quick? I feel like maybe I'll see if Steph has any thoughts to close this out. I'm tired. I'm ready to go eat. Steph, I put a link in the Gather chat. All right. Hey, Steph, you may want to mute the Gather tab. I don't know if you're going to get me twice.
Yeah. I gotta figure out which one of these multiple tabs I gotta open. I need to mute. There we go. I figured it out. That's good.
All right.
Now I
How's
gotta
it going?
figure out where I'm live. All right. Oh man, that was harsh. That was so harsh.
It was, but I felt like it encapsulated the thing that people get sucked into, right? Of playing the civility politics with these guys. Whoa, that was interesting. Steph, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I've got multiple loops.
Yeah, I had a bunch of loops going. I think I got them taken care of. I had the mute Gather. Did you hear that punk? It was crazy.
I'm just freaking out here, Jay. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You still getting loops? You should just, I guess, just close Gather for now.
What's going on? Sorry.
No worries.
I think I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah? No?
Yeah,
no.
I don't know. This isn't this. It's still not. I'm still not out.
All right, I'll mute you there. I'll mute myself and Gather. That might help. And I'll unshare MyronBot.
I've got nothing streaming right now aside from this
Restream?
restream
Okay.
at the moment.
And is it still going crazy?
Occasionally.
All right.
And now I'm hearing myself saying I've got nothing streaming right now aside from blah 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 blah. So I don't know why that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, I can. Let me see. What can I do? I can
maybe close my stream. You might have my stream playing somewhere.
I'm sorry about this.
No
idea why this is going. All right, I'm gonna close that entire window.
Yeah, then I muted my stuff. Is that better?
Okay. I'm good. I'm good.
right.
I'm good.
All right.
That was pure hell. That was hell. That was hell. It was terrible.
Okay.
I mean, I actually finished. I just finished doing a whole stream about this topic, about the seeming inability for people to recognize when to smash Nazis in the face. And it's come on, people, this is not a game.
Right.
It's not. We ain't playing here. It's like, well, I don't. I'm just like the copium going on from Peter's point of view. It's like, oh, no leftists will talk to me. It's like, and it must be because they're all afraid of me. No, it's because you're a fucking asshole. Now, who the hell wants, okay, I'm Heinrich Himmler. I don't understand why the Jews don't talk to me.
yeah.
I mean, come on, mate. It's like, well, they'll talk to Rome, but they won't talk to me. What's the solution? Well, let's kill Rome. It's like, I don't get it. Look, when I said this in the chat, when Doug says, and he's said in other places, not ever when we're face to face. I never had the fucking nuts to tell me face to face you're not a woman. Never had the fucking balls to do that. But he'll do it in that stream, and he'll do it talking to the recently
Andrew
renovated
King
Catholic
Yeah.
King Xerxes. He'll do it all over the place. He won't be honest about his own bigotry. Because, he's got so much invested in street epistemology and how rational conversation can convert people to actually having a reasonable outlook. Well, how reasonable can I be when somebody says my existence isn't valid? And as a matter of fact, he wouldn't mind if it was legally invalid. What am I supposed to do with that? All you nice, polite atheists. All you nice, polite Christians. It's like, yeah, well, we have your back. Well, thanks, but I could do with more than the brick wall and the Gaulois and the light. By the way, thanks for the light. But you know what? As soon as that cigarette burns down, I'm dead. You know what? You're next. I don't understand how people can buy into this, can buy in to the notion that anything in the way of social progress has ever been achieved without pain, without people being bold in saying this is sitting on a enormous heap of elephant crap. This is all over your goddamn living rooms right now.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with apologists.
It's coming through your TV.
They've figured out a long time ago how to have the conversation. That literally means you're letting them get away without consequence. Oh, all I got to do is sit down and pretend to take your questions for an hour? Sure, no problem. And then it's right back to the same thing they were doing beforehand.
I forget who the right-wing guy that discovered Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, which was a kind of a polemic that was published in the 60s about how to do activism. What do? You don't take your foot off the accelerator. You never pump the brakes. You don't give your most radical ideas a second thought. And there are dangers to that, because you wind up turning yourself into a monster if you do that. But the thing is, with these guys, they don't mind being turned into monsters because they're monsters to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't like the idea that we were successful. They didn't like the idea. They didn't like the idea that the Montgomery boycott, the bus boycott, was successful. They didn't like that idea one little bit. They didn't like the idea of the 1965 Civil Rights Act, or 1964 Civil Rights Act, and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. They didn't like that idea one little bit, and they've been fighting against it ever since.
Yep. That was one of my initial beefs with Doug, was like he stepped himself, trying to take shots at the Dems. He stepped in that whole voting rights mess. And I'm like, Doug, man, these people are coming to take away my right to vote. And you think the shit is funny because you want to take shots at the Democratic Party. I'm not having it. And that was it. I was like, he's really willing to stand with this racist party and their racist policies just so he can score points against the left. Fuck this guy. I don't have time for this shit.
This is way beyond taking pot shots at your political opponents. So, well, I'm a fiscal conservative, but social liberal. No, you're not.
Right. Exactly.
You're not interested. You're not interested in seeing you're a libertarian in the same sense as Mao. Let 1,000 thoughts flourish. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. As long as the flowers that smell good to me are the ones that get to do that.
Absolutely.
And, the people of a totalitarian mindset, whether Maoist, some would say leftist. Okay, let's go with it. These concepts of left and right have been with us since the French Revolution, and it had to do with the conservatives sitting on the left hand, on the right hand side of the estates, and the liberals sitting on the left. And these are antiquated systems of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're dealing with here is a totalitarian mindset, which I would have thought people would have understood.
That's I think the problem that we have to deal with is, and in some sense, it almost feels like the people that are supposed to be on the left, are supposed to be progressives, are kind of wink, nudging the right, going tamp it down. Keep it in line so that we can have this conversation, right? They're almost trying to draw them back into a space of respectable conversation. Let's talk about street epistemology. Let's talk about your philosophy. Let's talk about your Bible. Let's talk about your theology. And I'll set aside your bigotry if you don't go off the chain right now. And it's this dance they're doing with each other, and they're not giving a shit about how it's affecting people outside. I
actually think that discussion is more a function that's taking place in the middle, the fuzzy middle of people who don't mind a little bit of totalitarianism.
Well, they'd rather. I honestly don't think that there's an active left.
I certainly not as active
Not an
a left
organized
as there
one.
was in my youth. And there's no traction with the Communist Party, the
Right,
Socialist
right.
Workers Party. You're not seeing this. You're not seeing radical movements on the left. You're seeing people standing for themselves. I mean, Black Lives Matters wasn't a leftist movement. It was people incensed about the imposition of totalitarian forms of justice being enacted on the streets of Milwaukee.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Minneapolis.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was an outrage of a literal police state being.
But this could be said across the board. To your point, though, right? This is the same with the LGBTQ. It's the same with the supporting abortion right. It's the same with the anti-genocide in the Middle East. These are not leftist movements. These are responses that are desperately just trying to save lives, trying to pull people out of the fire right now. Yeah.
This is reaction to totalitarian impulses.
Right. There's not market,
disorganized.
The
difference between the 1920s and 30s and today is that there is no left. There's no countervailing narrative. There's only people looking in horror at the imposition or the potential imposition of draconian measures against other people who share their interests. And there is no place. I mean, the Democratic Party in the 1920s had to face the Socialist Party. Eugene V. Debs was a legitimate candidate for president. There was a Socialist Party. There was a Communist Party. There were all of these things. Those things were destroyed. Those things were taken apart. They were taken apart in the first Red Scare. They were taken apart during the second Red Scare. The only totalitarian movement left in American politics today is on the right.
Amen.
And the very, very thinnest of threads protecting American democracy from totalitarianism right now is, sad to say, the Democratic Party. And its institutions have been weakened. And its institutions have been weakened by people who have an imaginary belief that the left still exists. It has no power.
It's more effective as a tool of the right. Until that power
is rebuilt, until there is a robust labor movement, as there was back then.
Yeah. The imagined dragon of a left
comes
is better.
back, we're fucked. We're fucked. Y'all are fucked. You're all fucked.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that
it drives me nuts.
The imagined dragon of the left is more effective as a tool to motivate the right than it is at actually doing anything to actually protect people. So you're right. It only exists in the minds of the right, really, right? Like
anything to the left of Donald J. Trump is communist.
To these people, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Well, Steph, look,
but their weakness now. If I want to say what looking at the current thing is, if he falls, their weakness is that there's no second. And that's what scares me. People ought to be looking like who's gonna pick up, who's gonna jump in front of that crowd. Because that crowd has been the crowd the crowd that had been trained to not scream the N-word and not scream the F word and not scream the T word and not scream whatever word you like. Out of a sense of enforced decency that they horribly resent. Who's going to be the person that jumps in front of that crowd after Trump goes? Because he's going to go. I mean, the man's 77 or something. He's going to die.
And it looks like that recent decision in Colorado could make all this kind of pressing, because that was a real shift. But look, I'm gonna get out of here. I need to get something to eat and go to sleep. But this was I really wanted.
Thanks
to do
for
this.
letting me jump on. And
Oh no, thanks for
Jesus Christ.
Thanks for jumping.
That was just these listening to these people that go on and on and on, piss and moan. That was a sign of weakness to me. It's like, oh geez, nobody on the left will talk to us. Nobody on the left will do this. Yeah, but except when actual people show up and talk to you, you get destroyed. Your bullshit gets shown up for what it is, and it's like, and you sit there, Bogosian and Pine Creek and those guys sitting there just saying, "Well, we're just so superior, so we're just looking for someone with enough status and enough blah blah blah." It's like you know what? You had me on your channel. You asked me to find something for you. I did. We went over it. And you went off to your fucking golf game because you know what? You were fucking wrong. And then you went and denied it. It's like, you people are so full of crap. I know I don't have Peter Bogosian's following. I know I don't have Pine Creek's following. I know I don't have a whole bunch of people's following. But Jesus Christ, if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Well, what you got to do is do it. Stop these people. Don't listen to them. They're full of shit. Blow on their straw house. Pretend you're the little pig and be the hero. Blow it down. Fuck them.
Right. And call them out for their bullshit. Gang, there is a link in the description to subscribe to Stephanie Helms if you have not already done so. I don't know what you're doing. You're making bad decisions on YouTube again. There's also a link down there for Ko-Fi. We'll be hanging out and gather. Thank you all so much. I know this was a long stream, but thank you so much for bearing with me and hanging in there. Appreciate all the activity in the chat. Please do hit me with a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave us a comment if you watch later. Appreciate it all, gang. And we'll see you next time. Said I'm gone.